This past weekend, there was a terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, where a man screaming "Free Palestine" used what is reported to be a makeshift flamethrower. I don't know what that is. In the photos, you can see him with a Molotov cocktail. He used this to immolate pro-Israeli protesters. And I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. They were protesters, sort of. They were marching peacefully to bring awareness to the hostages that were taken from Israel by Hamas. And this man, who was not American, he was Egyptian, and overstayed his visa illegally, set them ablaze. He was charged with murder. So we haven't. I don't believe we've gotten the official word yet on what's the condition of the victims. But I suppose if they're charging him with murder, it means at least one of these individuals has died. And so he immolated them. Trump is slamming Joe Biden, the latest update, blaming him for his open border policy, which allows these things to happen. And I think that's fair. Now, this guy didn't cross the border illegally. He came here legally, overstayed his visa, petitioned the Biden administration, and he was given a work permit. They allowed him to stay. And this is the problem right now. The question is, will his administration be able to deport as many people as they say they need to? Now, on top of that, Donald Trump has reportedly claimed that Joe Biden is a robot. I'm not kidding. The New York Times is reporting that Donald Trump is advancing the claim that Joe Biden was taken out in 2020 and replaced by a robot. Of course, for those of you that live on the internet like we do, you know this is the Biden conspiracy theory, sort of. There's the Biden conspiracy theory that claims that Joe Biden, the actual guy from 10 years ago, was replaced by somebody else. We got photos, although I think it's silly. And there's a bunch of other stories we'll get to. Tinder is now implementing a height filter, so women can filter out short guys. I know it's not the biggest story in the world, but it is funny. In all seriousness, Nate Silver has published the mental health disparity, finding that those who self-report low mental health tend to be Democrat, and those who report high mental health tend to be conservative. I can't say anybody's surprised by that data because we've covered it before, but now we'll go over exactly why young men, according to Nate Silver, don't want to associate with Democrats. Could it be that they're mentally unwell? Before we get started, my friends, we got a great sponsor today. We've got Bearskin. Yo, check it out. I am wearing this bearskin right now. It is so dang comfortable. I nearly fell asleep. I'm kidding. I didn't fall asleep, but it is really, really comfortable. This is awesome. See, you can take it. It's got an outer shell that they actually sent us a whole bunch of these things. Bearskin, you guys rock. Thank you for these jackets. There's an outer shell that can cover it, make it a rain jacket, or it's just this really nice fleece with 10 pockets and what they call windsolation design. Easy grip, adjustable bungee cord waist hood, improved adjusted Velcro cuffs to trap heat and block cold wind. So I really do appreciate, they sent us a bunch. Even Phil got one. Super cool. This is, I got to be honest, this is like the best jacket that I've gotten in a long time, if not ever. I got a raincoat now. Normally I just get soggy, but with this thing, I throw it on top, and it rained like for a week straight last week. So it really was pretty dang convenient. It's great for fishing, golfing, boating, flying. Perfect for vacations where you want to take one jacket. It's got 10 built-in pockets. If rain hits, you can just clip on the heavy storm jacket right on top. Super cool. You're going to get free U.S. shipping and fast domestic delivery, plus a 60% discount. Just text TIM to 36912, 36912, and they're going to send you a link. So if you're watching the show in your car or you're laying in bed, you're going to get a link texted back to you. You can click it whenever you want to get one of these amazing fleece bearskin jackets for 60% off. Super cool. And you guys can lock in the discount right now by hitting that, sending that text in, and it'll be there forever. Really cool stuff. 340 GSM. It's super thick, micro fleece, stronger, more durable. It feels lighter and more robust than regular fleece, no extra bulk. This actually is pretty awesome, I got to be honest. So really excited to have it. And right now, people are like, Tim, what are you doing? What are you wearing that? It is the perfect weather out right now. It is, what is it, like 70? It's that weather where you can choose to wear a hoodie or not. And I choose to wear one because it feels comfortable. So my friends, once again, text Tim to 36912. You'll get that 60% off, and shout out to Bearskin for sponsoring the show. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget, we got Cast Brew coffee. Guys, you got to drink it. It's the best coffee. Everyone agrees. At least that's what I've been told. Now, I'm a huge fan. I only drink Appalachian Nights, although to be fair, everybody knows I was drinking Starbucks this morning. That's fine. Not everybody is perfect all the time. But Appalachian Nights is my favorite. Then we've got Ian's Graphene Dream, plus a bunch of other ground coffee. We got 2 weeks till Christmas. We got Luck of the Seamus, Misty Mountains, and we do have coffee pods. So if you want to pop these little pods in your coffee machine, we got those too. So once again, go to castbrew.com. Pick up some coffee if you haven't already. Don't forget to also smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we got Stephen Horn.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm an ex-criminal. The Department of Justice went after me for covering January 6th as an independent journalist. Thanks President Trump for the pardon. Now my independent journalism is a little more parochial. I cover local news in the Greater Triangle area of North Carolina with my publication, The Triangle Trumpet. And
you're actually one of these people who was denied due process.
Yeah. It was, going into the jury trial, I knew what the result was going to be, just based on a D.C. jury and a D.C. judge and how they play the rules.
The judge wouldn't let you introduce exculpatory evidence.
Yeah, so I had the caption on the video I had posted from January 6th that night where I said I was there as a journalist, but they wouldn't let me, present that as evidence to the jury because it was my own statement, which for some reason that's the rules.
Why couldn't you, did you testify in your own defense?
Yeah, so I testified, and I told my whole story, why I was there, my history of past journalism prior to January 6th.
But you couldn't mention that you when you were there and you posted the video, it said this is for journalistic endeavors or whatever?
Yeah, so we couldn't, enter it in as an item of evidence. I could say what I posted, but I couldn't, actually show them the evidence of here's the caption on the video I posted.
I got to be honest, what I'd do? I would have outright said that. I would have said the judge denied me from showing you the proof that I was there as a journalist, and then let them declare a mistrial and they can screw themselves. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We got a lot to talk about in this stuff, so it's great to have you. Shane's hanging out.
Yeah, Stephen, it's great that you're here. I use your story a lot when I'm talking to people about how malicious the justice system was towards J6ers, and your story in particular is insane that they didn't allow you to use that stuff. So I hope we get into that a lot more. I am Shane Cashman. I do not need Donald Trump to tell me Joe Biden was a robot clone. I already knew that. Most of us knew that. I know Phil knew that. I am the host of Inverted World Live. Tonight, right after this show, we are doing our first Monday night broadcast at 10 o'clock. Join us. I will have Brandon with me. We're going to talk about Joe Biden being a clone, which a lot of us did know. We're going to talk about aliens, Area 51, because it is our Sasquatch. It's our 51st episode. So
congratulations.
Talk about Area 51.
Awesome.
Phil, how are you?
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. So let's get into it.
Here's a story from the Post-Millennial. Trump slams Biden's open border policy for allowing in Boulder terror attack suspect. Quote, he came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. So badly. He says, let me pull up the full quote, actually, because it's cut off. Yesterday's horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America. He came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. He must go out under Trump policy. Acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. My heart goes out to the victims of this terrible tragedy and the great people of Boulder. Now, the latest update is that this guy was charged with murder, implying that one of the individuals he immolated, that is the word, that's what he did. He set them aflame. The assumption is one of them has died. Now, apparently he had more than 14 more Molotov cocktails and was planning the attack for over a year. These people had been marching peacefully through Boulder to raise awareness for the hostages taken from Israel. They weren't violent. They weren't screaming. They were marching. And they even stated that usually they ignored if they ever came across someone screaming Free Palestine. They just did not respond because they were just trying to bring awareness. This guy shows up screaming Free Palestine. And he set, I believe there was an elderly man who was like 80-something years old, and even children on fire. Yep. This guy did not cross the border illegally. He came here legally on, I believe, a B1 or B2 visa, like a tourist visa, overstayed it, applied for a work permit through the Biden administration. They knew he was illegal. They let him stay. And therein lies the problem. This is why we need law enforcement. This is why we need vetting. So this is what you get. This is where we're at. Now, the question for the panel is, of course, my position has largely been, if an illegal immigrant commits a crime, just deport him. Goodbye. Put them on a list. They can't come back. Secure the country. Don't let them come back. Secure our borders. I don't see why we should spend exorbitant amounts of money on criminal trials for people who weren't supposed to be here in the first place. And then we got to pay to house them. We got to pay for their security. That's right. The cops that come and the correctional officers that have them in cells have to secure them and keep them safe from other people who might want to do them harm. Why should we spend all of that money? Honest question. What do you guys think? Should we?
No. Send them back.
Just send them home?
Yeah.
Just go. Bye.
Yeah.
The one reason I would say keep him just for a bit is to interrogate him to get answers, to know, like, for the victims, families, like, what was this guy doing? We know, but there's some investigation they could probably do, but he shouldn't be here at all. I mean, he should just be gone.
Fair point. Interrogate him to see if there's anybody else he was working with, who was he coordinating with. But I don't know, there's a lot of people, especially in the chat, that are saying he should get a full criminal trial so that we can show everybody what he did, lock him up to make sure he never does it again.
Yeah.
But then that logic, the challenge for me is this means that every single illegal immigrant that ever comes here, we have to pay for to house.
Yeah,
that's what they're trying. Many of them are trying to do that.
Yeah, that's the problem, because we'll just spend all that money on that. Hopefully, if there is a trial, I like to think it would prevent others from doing bad things, but I don't have faith in that either.
No, I mean the point is all of the threats you can imagine are already in the United States, right? Like this is going to emerge and this is going to continue unless we do deportations. 20 million people came over the border or something around there, came over the border from when Joe Biden took office until he got out. That is going to mean that there is some number larger than zero of people that are looking to do actual harm to the United States or willing to do harm that have brought the bigotries of the old country over here or are worried about the old country's war, so they're bringing it here. That stuff doesn't, that's not America's concern,
Send them to El Salvador and just do Zoom meetings with them.
No.
In the prison.
They shouldn't even
just to figure out the interrogation part, just to
know, all right.
What is the deal as best you can, because I'm not even going to trust them, honestly. As much as I'd like to see some answers, I don't even think we'll get it.
So then don't even worry about it. Just ship them out. We have to get rid of people. We have to get rid of a lot of people.
All for that.
And again, the more difficult you make it for people to stay in the United States, the more people will be like, I'm going to get out of here before it gets
maybe
a problem with
getting rid of him will do more. The consequences of people seeing someone just immediately disappearing will do more.
Crazy? ICE has been going to immigration courts and USCIS offices. And then when these illegal immigrants try and apply, the moment they're denied, they walk out the door and they get arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the smartest way to go about doing it.
Yeah.
To be fair, I guess the counter argument is they'll just stop trying to apply legally. But if the issue is that they're here illegally and they're going to an immigration office as a last-ditch effort to stay, it's not going to work. You shouldn't have been here, and you're going to get arrested.
It's a mousetrap. It's just a tease. And look, by any means necessary with these people, I think we got to get them out.
We don't even need to call it arrested. They're just taken into custody. There's no because we're just taking you to the airport to put you on a plane back.
Goodbye.
And back to wherever. It doesn't matter. There is a credit card that can buy a plane ticket for anywhere in the world that the government has. They can go ahead and say, American whatever airline, please remove this person. Send them back.
I was talking to Tom Homan on the morning show last week, and the subject was basically how they're screaming about due process, and I'm like, and I was honored to get to tell the man himself this. The worst thing you are advocating for doing, Mr. Homan, is giving someone a ride home. Imagine a guy breaks into your house, he's rifling through your stuff, you get into a fight with him, tie him up, and say, "Oh, I'm gonna drive you home. Where would you like to go?" That's actually what we are doing with all these people. I think it is infinitely compassionate to some very evil people. That is the route we take.
I mean, I think the question of, whether you keep someone in prison who has committed some crime in addition to crossing the border illegally is that if we look at the past administrations, the border has been like a sieve. If this gentleman is convicted of murder especially, he'll be in prison after Trump is in office. After Trump is out of office, we have no idea what the next administration will be like. If he's in an American prison, we know he's not wandering around in the American public. If we send him back, who knows whether he'll cross the border again.
That's good. That's great logic. Yep. Hopefully, we get a successor to Trump in some capacity. I mean, look, if in the next 3 years the Democrats ditch the far left and the party becomes like Tulsi Gabbard, I will be very, very happy, because that means whoever wins, we're going to have some semblance of a let's secure the border at the very least. It won't be psychotic, weird, woke garbage. I doubt that's going to happen in 4 years. So hopefully we get someone like Trump who takes over or carries on that legacy. But that's a great point, that if we keep people like this in the country and then say J.D. Vance runs and loses, the next Democrat administration is going to let them all go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then some might argue, yes, But if we send him back to Egypt, the Democrats could reopen the border and he might come back. Well, I'd rather have him try and traverse 12,000 miles than 50.
Just walking out of a jail.
Exactly. Not 0 miles. He's just here.
Yep.
Never left.
Yep.
Send him back.
How many Molotov cocktails? How does he travel with all this stuff? That's a lot of Molotov cocktails to just show up with.
So I was asked today on the Green Room show the origin of the term Molotov cocktail. And I was 20% correct. So he fact checked it. It was the Soviets were dropping cluster bombs on Finland and claiming they were dropping food. So they were called bread baskets. And then the Finns started making cocktails to go along with the bread. So Molotov was the guy who was claiming it was food.
Wow.
They said, here's Molotov's cocktails. They started throwing firebombs.
Wow. Wow.
It's like, did no one think to make one of these devices before that Cold War?
Well, I mean, like there was Greek fire, so they've been.
Yeah, do we know what that is yet?
I don't know for sure.
Man, you should know this.
I know. I'm married to a Greek. I don't know, though. I don't know.
But you
On
know
the
about
boats,
Greek
they
fire,
used
right?
like, so it's basically a.
okay.
A
Early napalm.
flamethrower, and the Greeks had like boats that were equipped with flamethrowers, and they could, smoke other boats.
And we don't necessarily know how they did it.
Yeah.
Ooh, lost technology. Interesting.
Yeah, it's not all that complicated, I imagine.
Yeah.
Throwing fuel or napalm.
Yeah, so I believe the Molotov cocktails, I thought that was pre-World War II, not Cold War. So that was, sort of the era when, sort of gasoline-based vehicles were becoming more common, which is, probably when they started realizing they could set vehicles on fire with it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was what, 30s? 39. Yeah. So it was during World War II. It was Vyacheslav Molotov was one of the architects of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact on the eve of World War II. And he was producing propaganda claiming that they were sending food, airborne food deliveries, but they were cluster bombs. So they said, here's, a Molotov cocktail to go along with your bread basket.
I remember someone throwing a Molotov cocktail into a building down the street from us in Brooklyn in like 2015. And just one Molotov cocktail,
huh?
maybe 2016, one Molotov cocktail did a lot of damage.
Wow.
They're no joke. Yeah.
Yeah, fire.
Could you imagine that's your legacy, like your name, and then people make fire bombs named after you? Now it's just we call them Molotovs.
Great branding.
Yeah.
And you think that it might be someone that was actually an anarchist or something like that, considering the association, but it's one of them was a fascist, some sort.
Right.
So.
All right, we got this next story. Let's go to the New York Times. Ladies and gentlemen, huge news. Trump amplifies another outlandish conspiracy theory. Biden is a robotic clone. President Trump posted another user's false claim that the former president had been executed in 2020 and replaced by a robotic clone. I don't think Trump is serious when he posts these things. He's goofing off. It's remarkable. I'm not going to get into it just now. Maybe we can talk about it later. But, Glenn Greenwald had that video leak. And I was sitting here before the show with Kellen. And then I was like, who even, like, what do I even say about that? I don't even care. So I tweeted, Glenn Greenwald is gay, question mark, as like that was the joke. Like, come on, who doesn't know that? And tons of these people took it seriously. They were like, you didn't know that? Of
course.
Donald Trump does not think that Joe Biden is actually a robot clone.
I don't know, man. I mean, the only thing outlandish about this is that it's 2020. I think it was probably way before 2020.
To be fair, what does Trump know about our ability to make robot clones?
Look at those years.
So this is the old Biden by Dan conspiracy theory. You can see it's all grainy because, like, I can't find this anymore.
They really had to pull that skin tight if that's not, if it's not a robot. But it does look like the 2021 Biden definitely looks like he's a skull.
If he was a robot, he wouldn't be stuttering and falling apart.
Unless they built the robot to look like an old, deteriorating man. Because someone on Twitter shared this great video side by side of Optimus walking and Biden walking, and it's very similar. Well, it doesn't take much to throw some skin on one of these robots. The CIA has been making amazing skin masks forever.
Yeah.
So throw one of those on a robot.
Like in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what they say. They say President Trump shared an outlandish conspiracy theory on social media on Saturday night, saying former President Joe Biden had been executed in 2020 and replaced by a robotic clone, the latest example of the president amplifying dark, false material to his millions of followers. Mr. Trump reposted a fringe rant from another user had made on the president's social media platform, Truth Social. Just after 10 p.m. on Saturday, the White House did not respond to requests. Bro, I know exactly what Trump is doing. Like me and the boys were out at the bar and we're chilling, and then someone's like, "Hey, look at this," and they text me something, and then I laugh and I hit retweet. And that's what Trump's hanging out with the buddies and they're having a cigar or something, and he's like, "Hey, how many of you want to see me send this tweet and make other media go crazy?" And they're like, "Do it, Trump, you got to do it."
Or he has key intel. How many different Bidens did we see through those 4 years? There was a lot. There were green screen Bidens. There were like deep fake Bidens.
He looked
jump
like-
cut Bidens, robot Bidens.
Like he looked like a skeleton for the entire time of his presidency.
Pregnancy?
Yeah.
Yeah. From his artificial womb as a clone.
But he didn't. I mean, there's a remarkable difference between Vice President Biden and President Biden. I mean,
Even 80s Biden, 90s Biden to Vice President Biden.
I feel like when Vice President Biden was vice president, like that was when he still had like the features that he had when he was 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I really do feel like it was 2020 is when he was a totally different animal. I feel like when he was like, no, I'm not gonna run for president, and kind of chilled out and went into to hiding or whatever. Like he got some work done and came back as like bionic Biden.
He was hopped up on tons of drugs.
I mean,
he was obviously a mess. He couldn't talk.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the facial structure.
And the face, and the face was melting.
Well, so this is what
I feel like
people
he was
point
being
out.
stretched back, not melting.
He was
down.
melting, and then they were stretching him. He was melting.
Here's what people said. If you take a look at Biden's ears in 2008,
Yep.
you can see he's got unattached lobes, a little floppy piece of the ear. And then Biden 2021, it's an attached lobe. And so they're saying nothing could do that. Well, to be fair, stretching his skin back real tight for a facelift, I think could do that, right?
I don't know. I think that's a little weird. That's some extra work. That's
It
not just
does.
tightening.
It does look like a different person, to be honest. Like,
It does.
yeah.
Well,
Like,
old
he
people do
looks-
sag as they get older.
They sag, but
true,
their
but-
ears attached all of a sudden.
But like Joe Biden in 2021 doesn't look like he's sagging. It's all pulled back. Like he looks more like a cartoon skull.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you just painted his head red, he would look just like the skull from what is it, Iron Man? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
this
Captain
is the
America.
post.
Captain America.
Okay, so actually, let me just do this. Here's Donald Trump's Truth Social account, and you can see he's just retruthed this without saying anything else. And you click it. This user says there is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference. And then it's quoting a Q post that is the Babylon Bee. Biden family worried they may be running out of time to exploit Joe Biden's health. Now, let's just try this. How much do you want to bet Trump shared this because it's a Babylon Bee satirical post that was making fun of it, and he just saw this, and he just hit repost?
Fair point. But I also should say then how much distance is usually between a Babylon Bee article and a not the Bee article. Because this could become true real soon.
Well, Babylon Bee is prophetic.
And the whole point of not the bee is like, no, these sound like Babylon Bee stuff,
Right.
but they're
so
not.
we get the joke first, but then all of a sudden the real stuff comes out.
Yeah, right
Not
away.
who's reporting on it. I think we're going to find out.
Can you imagine how
fake
many
president the whole time? Fake Oval Office.
he did?
We
did a
talked
lot of
about the
fake
green
stuff.
screen thing with the boom mic. That still weirds me out where his hand went through the mic.
Yeah, he went through the mic.
That was weird. There's a whole network of fake Bidens. That it was like an illusion.
Guys, I can't keep this up. I can't keep it up, guys. I just can't keep it up. I'm so over it. Listen, everybody at home, this is all scripted. Biden's not real. Trump's not real. We all of us, including Trump and Biden, we're all cast by the CIA. The true government's been in control the whole time.
Do you see the CIA's got a renewed presence on X now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's like
funny
three.
The funny thing is that I make that joke, but someone out there is sitting there believing it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I'm really worried about when it comes to like security threats. Someone out there is going to genuinely believe I was serious, that we're all actors and Trump's not real. And come on, Trump's a reality TV guy. Yeah, the CIA came to all of us and said, we're going to cast him as the president, him as the real president. You know his name is?
No.
Edward Schmidt.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley.
The person
a good theory.
The person you do have to worry about is probably Canadian too.
You got to worry about them.
Yeah.
Trudeau's the real president.
So that means
He's an actor, too.
Castro's son is the real president.
He's definitely in.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is just the third casting of Biden because it's a show,
At least.
TV.
Third episode.
You don't really believe what you see on the TV, do you? Come on.
I don't believe anything I see on the internet.
That's right. So when they say Trump's the president, I'm like, just the internet again.
Yeah.
I mean, it all is just the internet.
Fair point, though. Anyone out there should read the book Weird Scenes from Laurel Canyon, which does talk about the CIA infiltrating different subcultures and putting actors in to certain places to do their bidding.
Well, there's a new conspiracy theory about in the Diddy trial, some woman came out and said that she helped Mike Myers meet with the CIA or something and liaised for like government projects. And everybody's going nuts being like, whoa, how many of these celebrities are CIA? If you Google search Mike Myers CIA, he went and did a tour of the CIA headquarters in 2008. It was all public. There's pictures. He waved, and he said that he was a fan of those who were providing a service for this country or something.
Yeah.
I don't think if he was actually working for the CIA, he'd have done that.
Yeah. No, in Laurel Canyon, the book talks about how there was the Mountain Look Observatory, which Jared Leto owned, I think, most recently. And they filmed like at least 50,000 propaganda films there with a bunch of like Hollywood stars for the government. The other theory is that the moon landing was filmed there. I won't go that far. I think it was maybe filmed elsewhere. But that Mountain Look Observatory, I won't go that far, Tim. But the Mountain Look Observatory is a
not
for
sure
real
the
place.
moon exists, right?
The moon is a thing. It's just might not be what we think it is.
Okay.
You think it's a space station?
It could be very well a space station.
Because when they hit it, it rang like a bell.
Yes. Yeah. Or it's plasma. I don't know. I haven't been there.
Did you guys see the video
Douglas.
of the people who thought the sun was a strange object?
Yeah. Sometimes people see things. It was like a red orb, and they were like, "What is this?"
I went out for a peanut butter sundae last night.
Sounds great.
Jumped in my Cybertruck, rolled down the windows. I was blasting. What music was I blasting? I think it was Seal, Kiss from a Rose or something like that.
Great song.
Full volume. Nope. It was NPR. Yeah, I was listening to NPR. You gotta listen to NPR because you gotta know what the crackpots are saying. And as I was driving, because it's only about 10 minutes to the local little ice cream place, I looked up at the sun and I was like, wow, there's a haze. And so you could actually just see the sun without hurting your eyes, and it was red. And I was like, cool. And I know that there's the wildfires in Canada and stuff, so this was expected. But there's a bunch of videos where people are like, what is that? And they're pointing the cameras at the sun.
Yeah.
And they think there's a gigantic Nibiru or Planet X.
Which is
showing up.
possible, but it wasn't that, because I saw the sun last night too, setting after we did our last Inverted World live on Sunday. It was a weird red orb.
Yeah, it's just there's haze in the sky.
It happens, yeah.
So it's blocking a lot of the light, and you can look at it.
Or Bill Gates is replacing the sun. I don't know.
Well, they wanted to. What did they want to do? They wanted to put dust in the sky to
Yeah.
reduce the penetration of solar radiation.
Bill Gates wants his ScopeX plan is to fill the sky with dust to reverse climate change.
Which is like he really does want to do that too.
Yeah.
That's well, yeah. Like it's not like it's just rumor. Like
and there's people trying it right now. I think in Washington.
UK actually passed legislation about it about blocking a certain amount of sun from the sky.
Not a good idea.
You know the saying.
Of all, the UK of all places.
The saying is, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's not like eco-terrorism. Like, you
Yes.
can just do that? I don't know.
He is an eco-terrorist.
The problem The Simpsons had is that they made Mr. Burns sound devious and mischievous and, oh, Smithers, we're going to black out the sun. Like there was some strength.
Yeah.
When it should have been more like Bill Gates, like, well, actually, I think if we put a big disc and block the sun a bit, it might reduce temperatures. And you're like, oh.
Yep.
They had that on some episodes, but that's not Mr. Burns.
Such a terrible idea too.
Well, it's funny. I do love how Greta Thunberg is no longer all about the climate. She's all about Gaza.
Rebrand. Everyone's got
That's
to
right.
rebrand. That's the new thing.
Pivot.
Sender, yeah.
She's like dealing with her agent, and they're like, look, climate is out. Gaza is in. You got to pivot, Greta.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, you sure? I don't know nothing about Gaza. And they're like, just say whatever. People believe it.
Here's a rocket launcher in a boat.
All right. We got another story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge news. You may have noticed it is Pride Month. It is June 2nd. And guess what? CNN is calling it. Big brands are pulling back on Pride merchandise and events this year. That's right. For the last several years, Pride Month was a splashy marketing event for big brands. Stores adorned windows with rainbow flags, LGBTQ-themed T-shirts and mugs. Not anymore. Companies are treading lightly. Look at this. They even say Bud Light and Target. Let me tell you this. When I walk into Target, there's usually a few things that I want to get. I want to check the collectible card section because sometimes, check this out, depending on where you are in the country, an old Target or Walmart might have extremely rare Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering that are like, no joke. Really? My buddy went to a store and there were like 10-year-old cards sitting there for like $50. that were actually worth hundreds of dollars. But I digress. I don't want to see weird gay stuff like tuck-friendly bathing suits. And when I buy beer, I want to make crude, off-color jokes with my friends, not be lectured by a man who thinks he's a woman. Naturally, this cost a lot of money to these brands, and they're all panicking now. And Asmongold had a great video where he started pulling up all these different corporations, and none of them changed their logos because get woke, go broke. Everybody said, no way. Now, despite all that, there is still a concern. They're hiding their wokeness. They're still running these policies behind the scenes. They're just trying to pretend like it's not actually happening. But I think it's a big win.
I agree.
I think that there's probably going to need to be legislation, or not legislation. There's probably going to be people who are suing about the. I lost what I was going to say. Just happened again.
Suing about something related to Pride Month?
Well, it's suing about
DEI hires and practices?
yeah, like suing to see if they're actually going to be able to keep the people out.
Keep what people out?
People like DEI hires.
Wow, I'm lost.
But like that's in the government, right? You're talking about like in Target.
Well, no,
stuff, or-
they're not going to be able to, like, unless you sue over civil rights laws, saying, look, this is illegal to not hire me or whatever.
Right.
There's not going to be any kind of significant change. There has to be a resulting issue for the corporations.
Right.
Like they're going to try to just say, oh no, we're not doing this anymore. But they're moving people around. Yeah. They're not actually saying, they're not actually changing policy.
Yeah, and they're changing the DEI label in a lot of these corporations, right? Like I've seen that floating around.
Yep.
Like they stopped calling it DEI, and they've used some new words, right? Like UFO to UAP, all these things. They keep rebranding.
Oh, that was the worst. UAP.
Yeah.
What is that? Unidentified aerial phenomenon?
Yeah.
No,
but they've changed it since anomalous.
Yep.
I think it was aerial, then it went to anomalous.
Because it's in the water now.
Yeah, exactly.
Get outta here.
Exactly.
UFO.
But they're doing it with DEI too, which is, I think you're right, Tim, that they're just reshuffling. It looks good on the outside that they've stopped doing this, but that's all they do. This is just Marxist stuff. They're rebranding and finding new ways to pump the evil in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the question is, why did they do it in the first place? Were they just responding to market trends, or are they genuinely captured by these leftist ideologies? And I think, I'm not so sure about the corporations, but the universities definitely, they were doing this because they believed in it. You know, there's just a video out of, UNC
There was money in it
Charlotte
too.
where they're like, these are the new words we're using to do exactly the same thing we are doing under DEI. And, people have pulled the statistics from, the incoming classes after the SCOTUS rulings about, Harvard and UNC. And a lot of the schools, they're still doing DEI. They're still doing affirmative action, even if they have to call it by another name or find some way to get around the law.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, they're going to continue to look for ways to get around the law, and it's probably going to take legislation suing to under a civil rights law to get them to change.
What's funny is that Bud Light could have pulled off a successful LGBTQ Pride Month promo if they did not use Dylan Mulvaney. If they just did like a RuPaul's Drag Race thing, nobody would have cared. Conservatives would have been like cringe, but RuPaul's Drag Race has been on TV for like 15, 20 years or some. So it's like, it's not shocking to anybody, but Dylan Mulvaney is particularly offensive to so many people. I got to hand it to TikTok, right? Their promotion of the absolute like craziest content resulted in someone like Dylan Mulvaney being able to trick people into thinking that they're popular. And so this millennial woman at Bud Light is like, Dylan Mulvaney's popular. No. See, if you're ever wondering, when I always talk bad about TikTok and I say they're promoting crackpot garbage that people don't like and it's messing with our kids' brains, you need only look at the disparity between the popularity of Dylan Mulvaney on TikTok and the promotion of Dylan Mulvaney and what actually happened when a brand tried to hire Dylan Mulvaney. It destroyed the company. I mean, Bud Light's never recovered. Isn't that crazy? It's been 2 years.
They tried.
Yeah, but I mean,
with
They
all
had
due
the Post Malone rebrand stuff.
and I think it was what Shane Gillis Rogan and UFC. Doesn't matter. That money never came back.
Yeah.
probably not. But I think that part of the reason why Dylan Mulvaney was so radioactive to that brand is because of what the brand was prior to Dylan Mulvaney, right? Like Dylan Mulvaney doing something for someone else wouldn't have the kind of, crushing effect,
right?
Because we all talked about it, like, oh, you're at the bar with your friends or whatever, and it's like, oh, you're ordering Bud Light, huh? And it's like the Joker is there. Oh, you're getting the gay one, huh?
To be fair, I cannot for the life of me understand how anybody on the East Coast would order a Bud Light when they got Yingling out here.
Exactly.
It is. I mean, that's
I
serious.
never ever. I mean, I drink so rarely, but when I had beers, it was Yingling, the oldest beer in the country, I believe.
Yeah, I just
great.
And it's on the East Coast. I get it. Not everywhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why anybody would drink Bud Light.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'm going to say this right now. Big fan of UFC. I know they got sponsored by Bud Light. Don't really care. That's cool.
Yeah.
But Bud Light is just not beer. I don't know. It's just.
Yingling's more patriotic too. Isn't there an eagle on the thing?
Yeah,
from Philly?
and when this happened, they put out like a big pro-America statement, advertisement.
Yeah. Oh, funny. That's
Yeah,
funny.
they know what's up.
And remember the lady who was running the ads for Bud Light, her videos were coming out and she was saying like just terrible things. I forget exactly what it was, but remember she got fired for what she did for bringing Dylan Mulvaney on, and she got hired somewhere else ridiculous
Really?
recently.
I don't remember that one.
I forget where. I feel like some sports place took her on to do their ad, do their ads.
I was talking to this liberal woman last Friday, and she was saying that the left won the culture war in the mid-2010s or the early 2010s largely by just removing conservatives. And I think she's right. I think the cancel culture and woke left domination of institutions resulted in them just shoveling people under the rug. If a conservative said something like, hey, I don't like this, under the rug, what ends up happening? You get a weird marketing campaign. They think it's popular, and then the actual backlash occurs because censoring people, we always said this, you're not shutting down their speech. You're not stopping their ideas. You're just shuffling them into the corner where no one can see them. But they still exist. They'll still have an impact. And what ends up happening is they played themselves.
Yeah.
They could not tell how many people truly hated this stuff because the institution censored them all. So when they went on social media, all they saw was pro-LGBTQ stuff. Mm-hmm. Said, this is what people like. Not realizing most people didn't like it. They were just silenced.
I mean, you kind of made that point or proved that point when it came to the Rogan interview. Like when you were talking to what's her name, the Twitter people, and you're like, "Look, you guys are the ones that are deciding what is and is not. You know, okay, you're the ones that are ideological about it."
Yeah.
The one area where I stumped them was when I said, you are biased. They said, no, we're not. It was Jack Dorsey. And I said, you have a misgendering policy. Conservatives think misgendering is to call a man a woman or a woman a man. And liberals think misgendering someone is when you don't call them what they want to be called. That's two distinct worldviews. You've chosen only one of them and then banned anybody else. That is absolute bias against, conservatives. Yeah. And they were, Jack was kind of like, oh, like he kind of realized it, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't deny it. Conservatives don't agree with your view. You're banning them, right? Okay, great. That means you've chosen one worldview.
Yep.
But I've long described it like this. I long said that it was benefiting the right because I was like, imagine there's a mom and she's got two kids with her, two little boys. One is covered in chocolate. His hands are all messy and he's filthy and his hair's all messed up and he's wild and crazy. And the other one is looking prim and proper with a nice little suit and clean. On the surface, you look at him and you go, that kid's clearly more well-mannered. And that messy kid, man, oof, that kid's got bad attitude. Turns out, nope, they're either just as bad as each other or one's worse, but mom doesn't let the clean kid have any ice cream at all. So the kid can't get dirty because the mom's very strict with him. What was happening is that social media was banning all of the fringe elements of the right, making the right look sane and rational, and letting the left go nuts and bash their faces on the table. And now people are like, I don't want to associate with that.
And get more and more extreme over the years. Like the message that came from the far left filtered into the kind of the, normie left. And that's when things get real weird.
Yeah. And there's still some corporations I saw today sharing pride stuff.
Yep.
Like the New York Yankees, I believe, was one of them.
Really?
Yeah. I know you're from New York, but come
I saw that, Come on.
I
mean, I'm a Red Sox fan, so I'm
sorry to hear that.
Well, I'm from Massachusetts,
I know.
but New England,
I know.
So, yeah, like
we got Johnny Damon. It was crazy.
Yeah, I made a remark about the New York Yankees post about with all the trans stuff and just everything represented. They're just.
I have noticed. It seems like there's pockets of crazy places in West Virginia, and they've almost doubled down on their pride stuff this year as opposed to last year. And there's more flags than I saw last year.
Really?
Because there's liberal pockets around here, and they're insane.
Didn't you feel like last year they really pulled back a lot? Because it was.
I see a little bit, and I still think it's too much.
That's fine.
It's a lot right now.
When I flew to LA, IAD has a big Progress Pride flag IAD symbol stand, like right in the middle of the airport.
You.
That's federal. Like, why is Trump allowing this?
Right.
I think largely just doesn't know.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
Yeah. I wonder who's in control of the airport. That's like, I assumed it would be federal for D.C. airport.
Yeah.
Well,
Was it IAD? No, that is Virginia.
yeah, it's always going to be the owner of the airport is actually a private company. Then the regulations are all just set by the AFA.
Right.
You know,
So they can do what they want.
so
Dylan Mulvaney's flying the planes now.
Oh, man. All right, let's jump to this next story, ladies and gentlemen. We got this tweet from Nate Silver. This will surprise no one. Nate Silver says, I think an underrated factor in the how can Democrats win back young men debate is the effects of personality, which differ, especially among younger voters, are quite strongly correlated with voting preferences. And then he shows this. Higher self-reported mental health correlates with conservative political views. Let me just slow down and say it in layman's terms. Sanity and conservatism overlap. Insanity and liberalism overlap. That is not my opinion. It's the data presented by the Cooperative Election Study of 2022, get the data, as republished by Nate Silver, which shows the poorer the mental health state, the higher tendency towards liberalism. The stronger the self-reported mental state, the higher reported connection with conservatism.
I mean, it's clear as day.
yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about these kind of things a lot around here, like the fact that, you know, conservatives tend to be more, I am capable of affecting the world, and the left tends to be more, I'm affected by the world, and I need community and blah 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 in order to take care of myself, whereas people on the right are just, you know, they're like, I can go out and fix this. I can go do this. And that's just kind of these things are fairly obvious, these types of results.
Parents on the left are willing to mutilate their children.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
And they call that healthcare.
I mean, parents on the left let their kids watch Sesame Street.
Also abuse. They're another one of those corporations.
To be fair, Sesame Street did a Pride Month thing. And then I was like, not for my kid. And the left lost their mind.
Oh, did you get a lot of
so mad.
People were upset about
How
that.
dare you not like gay puppets?
Yeah, and I'm like, my kid's not going to watch it. And to be honest, I don't think my kid should be watching even old school Sesame Street.
Why?
Because I don't want her to identify with a green monster that lives in a garbage can.
There.
Like, I think all that stuff weird. Yeah. I look back at, not absolutely, not to be absolutist, but like most of humans grew up looking at their parents. There was no children's content. It didn't exist. So when you were a baby, you literally just saw your parents doing work. And that's it. Like most of human existence, there's no schoolhouses. There's no dumbing down of anything to try and get a kid to learn it. It was literally just the baby was there with mom. And then when the baby could walk, the baby was walking around and then the baby went and work with dad. We didn't have Sesame Street. We didn't have, these weird, we didn't have Dumbo. So, I'm gonna limit all that weird, crazy stuff for my kid. So we're obviously gonna do math and reading and things like that. But I'm gonna stay away from the weird cartoon, psycho, children's content stuff.
Yeah, and the stuff in the last 10 years has made it so every father is a bumbling fool. The kids are rude to their parents. Like we'll let our kids watch if they get to watch. We don't have the TV, but we'll give them like an iPad or something. They can watch stuff that's old, but there's so much stuff lately that is just, it's criminal that they let kids watch it.
We had our first sassing with the baby today. She was sassing us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's trying to suck her thumb.
Oh yeah, he didn't like it?
We're not letting her.
Yeah.
And she started and then shoving and then like pulling her arm and then jamming her thumb in her mouth with an angry face.
It's a hard habit to make them quit. Yeah.
Yeah. We thought it was funny and we wouldn't let her do it.
Baby sass.
But that's the thing too. It's like I don't want like human sass. Kids, you got to give them discipline. They got to be taught and things like that. So the last thing I want to do is put my kids in front of Sesame Street or some other weird crackpot stuff that's going to cause weird mental instability as they get older and then turn them into liberals.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and to sort of tie this issue back to one of the earlier stories in terms of immigration is that, if you look at the children's content or the adult entertainment, it is so heavily captured by these leftist ideologies. If you look at the education system, also captured by these leftist ideologies, and those are two of the main avenues of assimilation. I think that's one of the reasons why the left is so big about immigration is because they have a greater influence on the, second generation immigrants than they do of children, of Americans who, don't see a need to assimilate to American culture because because they are American culture. So there's less, influence for the left there.
Yeah.
I do like how Nate Silver writes this like really long essay breaking down race and gender and explaining young men when it really is just simple as young guys don't like crazy. They're sitting there saying like we talked about this on Friday with the Culture War episode. I recommend you guys check it out. Rumble.com/TimPool or YouTube.com/Timcast. The first thing I did was I pulled up the Star Trek meme. There are 4 lights. And I'll tell you why young guys don't want to be associated with the left or the Democratic Party. It's because, for those that don't know that scene, Captain Picard is captured by the enemy. The enemy general says, "Tell me, Captain Picard, how many lights do you see?" And there's 4. And he goes, 4, and he gets electrocuted. And he says, I believe you're mistaken. There are 5. Now tell me once again. And Picard refuses to give the false answer. The guy was trying to torture him into saying something that was not true, and he wouldn't do it. And I think that's how young guys feel. They keep telling you something that is obviously fake is real, and you have to admit it. Otherwise, pay the penalty. And young guys are just like, nope, not doing it.
Rather be exiled by that group.
Well, and young men are choosing that.
Yeah.
Right. Like whether it be like the people that are feeling so isolated that they, self-harm or something like that, or the people that are just like, I'm not gonna even involve myself with trying to do normal things like have a girlfriend, have kids, have a normal life. Like that's really affecting the social situation for most young men.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. When we were still in New York, I saw a lot of parents who were raising their kids in very deranged ways. And it happens in small ways too, just in terms of like language they decide. Like there are some of those characters you see on Twitter, they're in real life when they're talking about, gender and their children, all this stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then they get offended if you can feel the offense. Oh, I call my kid a him because he's a him, And
Really?
they're like, oh, and they're just like, you can you feel that tension with them because there's a lot of liberals where I was, even though I was outside of the city. And now when I go back to New York, my kids reference the Bible. So now my kids to them are like alt-right.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh my goodness. Because I want to be my kids to be enthusiastic about the things I'm enthusiastic about. So, they're referencing the Bible. They're referencing, my oldest is referencing the Odyssey. He likes Greek mythology and stuff like that. So I'm trying not to give
Talking
him all
about
this
how
stuff.
Joe Biden's a robot clone.
Fake clouds, all these things. The moon is a little dubious, whatever it is. For sure. These are the things you need to know. Dinosaurs, I'm not sure. You'll know this when you have a kid.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
You have to be skeptical of
This is
everything.
my homeschool program.
All of the stuff that you currently believe, you have to be skeptical of.
And be skeptical of your skepticism.
There's an important thing that kids need to learn too, which is not the easy thing, but it's philosophy of knowledge. Mm-hmm. That is, if you get asked by anybody, but especially a child, how is it possible that all the dinosaurs died? And you've got to explain it to them. But what can you really do? You can say, here's what I know, what I was told.
Yeah.
Let's look it up. But then really you're just saying we read it in a book and we believe it.
Yeah.
Right. My kids got one book about dinosaurs, just a normal book. And even in that book, they talk about how a lot of early scientists or archaeologists were putting together bones the wrong way.
Yeah.
So you're already, and I'm like, nice.
Well, I love
Remember that part.
you ever see the image of the elephant?
So.
Someone wrote a letter
skull.
describing an elephant and sent it back to Europe. And then they drew a picture of what they thought. They drew a picture of what it was described as in words, and it looks nothing like an elephant. Actually, let me see if I can find it.
I do want to say, my son knows I'm very skeptical of robots.
Yeah.
But shout out to him, who's always wanted to be a scientist. He told me just the other week, he said, I'm going to make a company that makes robots for dads who don't like robots.
Here, check it out.
Oh, wow.
So they described an elephant
Fair.
and then sent a letter back to Europe, and then someone drew a picture of what they read, and that's what they saw. That's what they thought. Look at the feet.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely has like horse-like
Right?
features.
You can kind of tell where they were going, but no, you're wrong, dude.
Maybe
Those
it's just
ears are way
extinct.
off.
Maybe it's just a what?
It's extinct.
Oh.
That was a thing.
Well,
we just don't have it anymore. And the people making the dire wolves are going to bring it back.
When they sent a sample, when they brought a sample of a platypus back to Europe, they thought it was a joke. They thought,
well, I mean, a platypus really blows your mind when you
Like how?
what?
How?
Yeah, how did like
it's a duck and beaver at the same time.
and it's both a bird and a mammal at the same time. It's all weird. It's got poison.
It lays eggs.
It's weird.
It
just weird.
secretes milk. Yeah, it secretes milk.
Secretes milk.
Yes.
It's a great example of God's humor.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, it was always
definitely-
funny. Remember that video of Kirk Cameron talking about evolution? It was super viral like 15, 20 years ago. And then he was like, if evolution is real, where's this? And he shows a picture of a duck with an alligator head. I remember watching that for the first time and I was just like, the platypus?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's there. That's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Platypus is a crazy little monster.
They're venomous too.
Yeah, I don't understand. I didn't know that.
Venomous club.
Yeah,
I didn't know about the milk secretion.
They're venomous in their rear bills or flippers. There's a spike that's poisonous. Yeah,
Venomous.
venomous.
Oh,
Yeah, venomous.
Yeah, good distinction.
Yeah, it is different. And the baby platypi lick the mom as she secretes milk.
What an anomaly.
It's the weirdest animal.
Why do we have
ever.
these things?
they exist. I don't
The
know.
only thing weirder is stuff like at the bottom of the ocean.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe Kirk Cameron was wrong. Is that like he should have pointed that out and said like, come on, clearly evolution is BS. Look at this weird thing.
Yeah,
How does that make
It
sense?
stopped. This came from nothing, and it's turned into nothing.
Yeah,
Like, what are the evolutionary pressures that created the platypus?
right. That's the man. Because there's got to be a reason for it. There's got to be something that gave an advantage to some kind of mutation.
Could be a leftover from a really old civilization that had technology, and it survived.
platypi.
Yeah, the platypi are from like an ancient, technologically advanced civilization.
Why technologically?
Because they were doing like bioengineering in their labs.
yes.
You know,
Okay.
in the bottom of their
New Zealand
pyramids.
specifically.
Yeah.
That was, where they were doing all these.
All right.
That's why all the animals are weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why would it such an advanced civilization create the platypus? That's
I don't know. We're doing it right now. We're doing it right now. Actually,
Maybe it was solving a problem that they had thousands of years ago.
we need something that's dangerous but also makes milk
Yeah, some kind of
and also looks hilarious. Yeah.
Well, it's also a what's the word? It can perceive electromagnetic fields.
yeah.
Is any government using this
Electroreception?
for their defense yet?
So can buffalo, right? Because they know to turn. No, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Buffalo.
Magnetoreception.
I think there's quite a few
Yeah.
sea creatures that can.
Yeah, that
No,
No,
wait.
wait.
Other mammals.
that makes sense.
There's a report recently about scientists trying to decode dolphin language because they think it can help them talk to aliens. So they're doing this stuff, and
wonder why.
they're building weird chimeras in labs all around this country.
Magnetoreception.
I just was just listening to a podcast and they were talking about chimeras, two different sets of DNA in the same creature. Creepy.
Dude, there's the guy in China who I think made people chimeras.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure they're doing it here.
CRISPR
too.
technology.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I
He went to
tell you
jail, got out, and then recently said, I think it was recently said, ethics is really holding back this.
Oh yeah,
my
yeah,
department. Yeah.
And that's why.
Sweet.
Hopefully.
That's why. That's good. Like sometimes you don't need to be like, hey, we can do it, so let's just go ahead and do it. Human chimeras are definitely
It is
something.
it is electroreception that I was referring to, not magnetoreception.
Interesting.
And it's I forgot what the animal class, echidnas, platypus. What's the name of their echinoderms? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Well,
Serge
don't
with the great
humans
knowledge.
have the capability to detect magnetic fields?
Yes. Well, actually, and if you surgically implant a magnet in your fingertips, you can actually sense. It's crazy. Yeah, there's a big trend like 15 years ago. A bunch of biohackers were getting their fingertips cut open. They would do like their middle finger, and they would implant a neodymium magnet,
Yeah.
and then they would stitch it up and seal it, and then you could run your hand along the wall, and you would feel electrical wires, so you knew where the cables were, and they described it as a unique sense, unlike any other sense.
There are people right now implanting Tesla keys in their hands.
What?
And yeah. And also getting all the bacteria in their mouth removed, like weird biohacking stuff that's happening in some of these little private cities that the
Well,
technocracy is building.
Yeah, there's people in South America are injecting themselves with genetic engineering stuff to stop their body from producing fat and only muscle.
Oh,
There's something
okay.
about it where they were like, when your body switches between muscle and fat production, it causes damage, which causes aging. And if you turn off fat production, your body will maintain muscle production with less aging-related damage. And so their attitude was, we have more than enough food. We don't need our fat the way we used to, so let's just turn it off. And they injected themselves with like this closed loop DNA, which it's not permanent. They as long as they keep injecting it, their body won't produce fat in the same way or something like that.
Wow.
Yup.
That's interesting to
And
me.
they think they're going to live a lot longer because
Well, that's what there's those parabiosis studies that they were doing in Stanford, I think in the 90s, where they were sewing the young mouse to the old mouse, and the old mouse appeared to get younger
because of the blood.
It is.
And then
It is
young
not
mouse was getting
echinoderm.
sick.
Echinoderms are starfishes. Oh. Yeah.
Also weird.
I tried to Google that, but I couldn't spell it right. So
Yeah.
And then
Not-
people took those parabiosis studies with the mice and then turned it. People like Brian Johnson, not the ACD singer, the biohacker guy, was injecting his son's blood into him. And
monotremes.
Yeah.
Monotremes was the word.
crazy.
Mammals that lay eggs and have electrolocation. That's crazy.
they have electrolocation.
Yup. All right. Well, speaking of evolution, here's a story from the New York Post. Tinder tests out new height filter to help people connect more intentionally. We know what they're doing. This is short genocide.
Yeah. Shortman, you're done. It's over for you.
over.
It was over before because as soon as they found out how tall you were, but now they're not even going to let.
Now it's more over.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
More over. They say, is the reign of the short king over on Tinder? The platform has been accused of superficiality after testing out a new feature that allows users to screen potential matches based on height. This is part of a broader effort to help people connect more intentionally on Tinder. The new vetting function, which came to light via Reddit and other platforms, is located in the discovery section, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. The bigger complaint that I've heard is that trans women will list themselves as women on Tinder. And there are a bunch of dudes on X being like, when you load up Tinder, it'll show you dudes when you select for women. So what's to stop a guy from just putting in a lie? This is so dumb. They're like, if you're short, it won't let you pop up. Okay, so they'll just go in their profile and lie about their height.
I mean, you'd think that the simple answer would be obvious, but apparently it's not. All of the people that I saw, I tweeted about this, and all the people that I saw responding, they were all just like, well, what about the weight filter for women? Which is, I mean, the obvious, the obvious question.
I don't want any chonkers.
Yep. Agreed.
You remember Homer had that shirt, no fat chicks? Well, he wanted that shirt. But of course, that would be offensive. They wouldn't allow that.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I think anything the Tinder app does is inherently evil just because of their profit motive and their business model is to keep people on the app. So, they want the more superficiality, the better, because they don't want people forming genuine connections. Because if they're in a long-term relationship, they're not on Tinder.
That sounds like an anti-capitalist statement.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be, this sort of idea that you can do whatever it takes to make money without any regard to morals. If that's anti-capitalist, then sure, I'm anti-capitalist, but I'm more anti-communist than I am.
That is the leftist argument, though. They misattribute corruption. They claim that capitalism and corruption are one and the same, whereas most capitalists are like, no, you're talking about bad things we don't like. But I got to say, I do think the laissez-faire capitalists overlook stuff like this, and they're very dumb. Like, I'm pro-tariff. Not universal blind blanket tariffs, but I think the American people can't compete with Chinese slave labor. Chinese peasant labor, okay, let's be more factual. But there's these libertarians that are like, no, it's good. It's better that Chinese peasants are taking all the jobs and Americans are living in trailers and can't afford to buy food. So then we got to give them tax benefits and half of them don't get that. I'm like, yeah, that's all really bad.
Yeah, capitalism only works with a moral foundation.
We don't have
Yeah, that's true. But,
have it.
right. Yeah, I mean, the end result is just capitalism won't work then.
Right.
Like pure laissez-faire capitalism, I think won't work because, and this is always the craziest argument that I hear from ANCAPs. It's like monopolies form, evil people motivated by evil things will make bad products that hurt people and they'll get away with it. And then I hear from libertarians and laissez-faire guys that say, if the product's hurting people, people stop buying it. And I'm like, then explain all the chemicals in our food, all the weird garbage that we know is causing problems that's still there. It's because the effects aren't immediate. So these companies get away with putting weird garbage in our food that we and our kids eat. It's causing generational diseases and chronic illness, and nothing's stopping it.
Yep. And the way you're describing Tinder is also that's big pharma's whole deal, right? Just mask the problem. We don't want to cure anything. We don't want to give you a lasting, cure with like a healthy relationship or an actual cure to your disease. We want to keep you hooked onto this medicine forever.
That's why they endorse transitioning kids or young people because they they put them on a drug regime for the rest of their lives.
Yep. Drug slaves.
So
they love it.
So I wouldn't put it past them put it past a corporation to be like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't, connect people. Maybe it's better to, have people kind of just kind of meet each other and hook up and then look for the next one, which is really what Tinder does, right? Like for the most part, there are people that I'm sure that have decided to have some kind of relationship, but it really is about, meeting someone and then hooking up and then moving on to the next one.
Well, so they say, meanwhile, regular tier users can already customize several preferences within the discovery settings, including age, range, sexual orientation, and distance. I'm curious. I'm married. I don't use Tinder. I honestly don't think I've ever actually used Tinder. I was on it maybe like 15 years ago. I don't think I ever actually used it. Like I swiped on it and sent messages. I don't think I ever actually had a successful like connection or anything. But I don't know this, and I wonder if you put your sexual orientation as like a guy and you put straight, will it still send you trans women? Because the leftist argument is, but trans women are women.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, you have to set your orientation to super straight.
Isn't that bigoted or something like that? People are like, "Oh, you're a bigot if you say that." Just like everything else.
I have to just put bigot in the thing and see what happens.
But I do think that there are, if maybe not Tinder, but there are, dating sites that you will connect a straight male with a trans woman.
Yeah,
and that's a recipe for disaster.
So I never did any of this stuff. The closest I ever came to it was Hot or Not before MySpace. Yeah.
That was like the first social network.
Yeah.
Hot or Not.
Hot or Not. Yeah.
That's
Great
what
times.
Facebook started out as, right?
Was it?
No.
No, I think it was an early social media, but it wasn't Facebook.
Yeah, I think
Facebook-
Facebook was inspired by it or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because Zuckerberg made the.
Gen Z's and Gen Alpha are screwed.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to... So, it was funny because I was reading some guy talking about this on X, where I saw the story, and he was mentioning, like, when, like, the glory days of early Tinder, you just went on there and swiped, and you'd meet up with people, and then now it's all these filters and all of these weird 666 things from women. It's just... It's impossible to use. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe the whole thing just implodes on itself.
Yeah. That'd be good.
I mean,
No. Guys are going to go bang robots on the internet.
I was just going to say, there's probably going to be robots on Tinder soon. That's how they train them, send them out into the real world.
Man,
disclose that you're a robot.
It's so crazy because I remember when the AI women started popping up on Instagram, and you could still kind of tell it was AI, but you can't tell anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
They're actually replying in context of the picture, or
What do you mean?
when they reply?
The original AI women were like, you could see like the weird hands and stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about AI accounts that will actually reply to.
Oh no, I'm talking about like you'd open Instagram, maybe
Okay.
swiping, and Instagram would send you a recommendation of an AI woman, and you're like, that's not a real person.
Yeah.
But now
No,
it's
you can't tell.
yeah, and then they have AI bots who respond, and then dudes are sending them money.
Yeah.
At least it'll put an end to women in the workplace because OnlyFans.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Fair
Put an end to women in that particular workplace.
No, let's get serious. Any job related to management, organization, or creativity will be taken over by AI.
Yeah.
This means that when it comes to labor, this is where there's still going to be a requirement there's still going to be a need for jobs to a certain degree. You go to any company, it's like, do you want the average woman or the average man? Average man's going to win every single time. You have a job that does sales and management and things like this, it's going to be like, AI can do it.
Yep.
You don't need people for these jobs anymore that are like white collar jobs are gone.
Yeah, just yesterday, the
they can't-
Anthropic CEO said 50% of white collar jobs will be gone soon.
And you don't need, and women can't do porn anymore because the robots will just make it.
Yeah, they're gonna do everything. There's robots building robots,
Yeah.
so you can't even get a job to build a robot.
No, the Optimus robot, once those actually can be put out into the wild and be autonomous, they're going to be able to do everything that humans can do.
Yep,
'Cause
Biden-
the world is designed for humans.
Exactly.
Biden was just the Optimus 2.0 alpha model,
Yes.
with the skin suit on. That's why he walks like that.
Exactly. Yep.
So we got robot presidents,
Yep.
I mean,
according to Trump. YouTube's gonna put a Wikipedia tag on this video being like, Biden is not a robot.
yeah. Well, I mean,
What a stupid. Could you imagine if you were watching Fox News and like your cable provider like put a thing on the screen saying like they're wrong? That's just the weirdest thing ever.
It just makes it sound like it's more right than it is. Then, like,
Oh,
why,
yeah.
why do you feel the need to
you-
say this?
Did you see the Babylon Bee article about Epstein?
No.
It said FBI confirms Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, proving once and for all that Epstein did not kill himself.
Yeah.
That was good.
No, the robots are coming. They're getting
what-
better and better.
So that's it for Gen Z. They got to do sex bots.
I'm just ready for when everyone else realizes that these AI models are possessed by demons, and we can have jihad.
Shane's like, now you're talking my language.
Or preaching to the choir.
Yeah, right.
I don't think so, man.
Demons.
I was explaining this. It was funny. Brett Dasovic sent me an article where Hollywood is already having AI studio conventions. They're already starting to ditch the normal way of doing things. And I think there was a news article today where Disney said streaming is dead.
Really?
I'm telling you where we're going to be. Here's my prediction. There's going to be no studios. It's going to be YouTube. Mm-hmm. YouTube, or if depending on which of these streaming platforms can succeed, because the IP they control. So like Disney has IP, so there's going to be YouTube, Disney, Paramount, but they're not going to make shows. There's going to be user-generated channels. So Shane, who has all this crazy knowledge about weird, crazy, otherworldly things, will open up the AI prompt, turn on his microphone, and just say, make a show where a guy explores, the moon and all these things. It'll render like a script. Shane will do some quick edits over a couple hours, hit render, it'll make it. He'll do a once over to make sure it's good. He'll upload it to his channel, and then people are going to log in to like History Plus, and they're going to tell their friends like, I love History Plus. Do you subscribe to Shane Cashman? Dude, his shows are so good. There's not going to be studios anymore. Anyone can make a movie. Anyone can make a show. It's just going to be people who are creative will have big followings because their movies are good.
And they'll be able to personalize. Like if it's a me show, if it's me, they'll be like, oh, I made Shane say this and that to fit my theories.
Yeah.
Like this. So it'll be hyper personalized, designer shows for everybody.
And video games.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. The people, they're doing that, right? Meta is building a giant world simulation right now. I believe it's Meta.
You ready?
That's how they're training their robots.
From the Post-Millennial, Disney to lay off hundreds of finance, film, and TV employees. Oof. Several hundred employees are being laid off by the Walt Disney Company starting Monday. The AI collapse is now. Per the outlet citing sources familiar with the matter, the cuts primarily affect Disney Entertainment as well as the corporate financial side of the company. Marketing, filming, casting, and development will be impacted. Most of the affected Disney Entertainment television staff that are being let go are reportedly located in LA, but no teams are being completely eliminated. For the entertainment giant, this is the fourth round of layoffs since mid-2024 and has been part of a cost-cutting process. When Bob Iger returned as CEO in 2023, he had set the goal of cutting $7.5 billion in costs. They say in March of earlier this year, there were around 200 Disney workers laid off from the corporation, comprising 6% of its workforce at ABC News. This filed a restructuring last October. It is coming, my friends. And this is just the beginning. AI is not even at that point yet, where everyone's uploading these VO3 videos from Google, and they're crazy good, but still only 8 seconds. But it is insane to see where we've gone in 1 year, the advancement of AI. 1 year from now, it's going to be perfect.
There was the Will Smith year ago video of him eating spaghetti put next to I think it was a VO3, whatever. It's just like we were saying back then. In a year, 18 months, you're not even going to be able to tell. Nowadays, unless there's watermarks, you can't. It's really hard to tell. My
positive take is that there's going to be a lot of people who reject the movie aspect, like the art aspect of AI, and they're tired of that kind of slop. And they won't want a designer thing. They want something that's made by someone that affects them personally. The problem for me is the AI just taking over everything else. Like the government, like Saudi Arabia implementing an AI government, which they've announced.
Oh, really?
So that's going to happen here at some point.
We'll see if it happens.
Maybe already happened.
I do think it already happened. A lot of people who are close to this administration right now are the people building out the technocracy. A lot of they're experts, so-called experts, and they're close to AI. Look at Project Stargate again. The $500 billion fund to OpenAI and Oracle and I think NVIDIA. It's going to get
a lot of this. A lot of this stuff is not going to actually come to fruition in the United States unless we change the way that we make power, and we have to. Because if you start greenlighting nuclear power plants and stuff like that, I think the soonest you can get these things turned on is like 7 years later.
Right.
So it's like you're talking about, 2035, 2034.
Yeah, the power thing's crazy because to run AI takes a lot more power, obviously. But that $500 billion fund, I believe the infrastructure aspect of that is only going to OpenAI, and they're building just a ton of data centers. And we live not too far from Data Center City over, I think it's somewhere in Virginia. You know,
Okay.
like there's a ton of them over there.
Do you know where they're building this one?
The OpenAI ones,
Yep.
I think, are in Texas.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Abilene comes to mind, but I could be wrong with the name or state. But that's what's happening. They're building a ton of them. Everything's going to turn into a data center. They're going to turn Earth into a data center.
Yeah, I mean, in some other kind of abstract way, it already is, because it's the only place that has conscious.
But they're going to be in
What?
Mars, and then we're just going to be this dystopian giant factory, like digital brain.
You're talking
all
about
the
a
robots.
long time, homie.
I don't know, dude. I think Elon's saying right now that in a few years there'll be more humanoids
Yeah.
than people.
Yeah, he thinks
he's also
like 10
talking about
years,
he's,
something like
he's
that.
building billions of humanoid robots that everyone's going to want, supposedly. I'm sure people will. And he's talking about how many starships he's pumping out.
He's not wrong about the robots.
No, he
I mean,
knows.
Look, how many times have you had to do some like trivial waste of time errand that you didn't want to do? We all have our moments. Like, right, I'm in the living room and I'm like on my computer or on my phone trying to order something I need for work, and then Allison says, "I need you to run to the car and grab this thing," and I'm like, it's so trivial and unimportant, but it has to be done. Like, we left the baby's bag in the car, have to get it, but I gotta order this thing. I gotta stop doing the work I gotta do. No, robot, go to the car and grab the backpack.
Yep.
Robot walks outside, comes back in. No problem. Nobody got to ask me anything. I can take care of the important work I got to do, paying the bills. I don't know if you guys saw that Black Mirror episode where they have the AI. She's just like, I got to call the cable company and pay this late bill. And the AI goes, I'm contacting the cable company right now for you. And your bill is paid. You're good to go. And the mom's like, really? It's like, yep, you're all done.
That kind of stuff will be a big deal.
Yep.
And you're going to be able to get it for $25,000 over 72 months at 3.9 or whatever percent finance
It's cheaper than that.
charge.
No, it's cheaper than that.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe.
It's going to be $20 a month.
$20 a month.
Bro, I got ChatGPT Pro for like $40 a month.
I'm talking about the actual robot.
Oh, right. No,
what I
they're
mean?
way cheaper than that.
Yeah, well,
You can buy one of these humanoid robots right now for a couple grand.
they'll start around, from what I hear Musk talking about, he's thinking they're going to start around, the good quality ones are going to start around $25,000. So, but I mean, the point is they're well within reach of middle class America once they start making them. They're not going to be something that only, because right now, only like Kim Kardashian has one.
She's going to marry one. She'll be the first celebrity to marry one.
Right now, the humanoid robots they do sell are limited in what they can do, and they are going for about $20K.
Yeah.
Here's one at 16, there's one at 90, but they don't do anything just yet. But they do have those dogs,
Yep.
robot dogs.
But once they get the AI squared away where they
$3,000.
learn
$3,000
properly.
for a robot dog.
How much?
$3,000.
Nice. Once they get the AI straight where they can, learn properly, like it's actually an AI that can learn from being in the world, because it's going to have to learn what your house is, the layout of your house is. They're going to have to learn the people and stuff. Once it can do that, once one can do it, they all can do it.
Yep.
So it's like once it learns how to do, make a quiche or whatever, right? Like then they can all do it. Once it learns how to play guitar, play piano, then they can all
Once
do
they
it.
learn how to overthrow your government and enslave you,
They all know how to do it.
I just watched a CEO from one of these companies talk about their robots, and he was like, we used to think about how the factories were dehumanizing the people during the first revolution, or industrial revolution, but he's like, our robots are not doing so well in factories. So we actually have to take them out of the factories because they're not learning well, and send them to your homes to learn. I'm like, that's so hilarious and backwards of how we are to people. Sending them to your house to learn, I get it, but the short-term benefits sound nice. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not going to have a robot to do
Let's see
anything
how
for me.
AI handled it. Ready?
Oracle, how do we save the country?
Eliminate free will. Stabilize through control.
God help us. Oracle,
Meh.
how do we...
They did it wrong. The guy's not supposed to say it. The computer is supposed to say it. And they called it Oracle. That's fantastic.
Yep. Shout out to Larry
Creepy.
Ellison,
Yep.
a dangerous man.
So we're not quite there in understanding properly. Let me give this a thumbs down. That's how you got to teach it. And I intend to. So you give it a thumbs down and say it didn't follow instructions. It's supposed to be the computer saying eliminate free will, not some guy. But it tried.
It did. And it still kind of got the point across.
love
All right,
seeing it
Shane,
fail.
give me a video prompt. What do you want to see?
The real moon.
All right.
Show me Stanley Kubrick.
So I told ChatGPT the real moon video prompt. It auto-generated an 8-second scene. I'm going to copy and paste it into Gemini and tell it to render the video. So all you said was the real moon. And that's what I typed into ChatGPT, the real moon, comma, video prompt. It then wrote a script. I didn't read it. I just copied it. Now I'm pasting it to Gemini because Gemini sucks. It makes really great video, but if I typed in the real moon, it would just make a video of the moon. ChatGPT understands kind of the idea of what you're trying to get across with the real moon.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now it's rendering, and we'll see what happens.
The real moon. Do you think that the real moon is a construct? Pardon me.
I mean, yeah.
Have you watched Moonfall yet?
There. No.
Oh, come on, bro.
I know. I've been rewatching 80s sci-fi, Blade Runner, RoboCop, Terminator, all the good stuff, but I haven't watched.
Yeah, Moonfall's where the moon is falling to Earth.
Okay.
And then it's like it's really close to the Earth, and then people run and jump, and they jump super high because the moon's gravity. But it turns out the moon is a gigantic terraforming base by an ancient civilization of humans.
It's something. There's something in it. China's been doing something on the dark side of the moon for years. I don't think anyone knows what it is. I think there's something up there, there's people paying to bury themselves up there. Hitler might be there, not Argentina.
The Nazis went to the moon.
Yeah, if he's not behind the ice wall and he's not in Argentina, he's in the moon.
He's in the moon.
Yeah.
I want to read that comic book.
In the moon.
Yeah, it would be a good.
Well, they made 2 movies, Iron Skies.
I didn't see him.
You've not seen Iron Sky?
I live under a rock.
It's like about the Nazis going to the moon after World War II, and then they have a moon base, which is stupid because how would they supply it with like food and oxygen and water? But whatever.
Inside the moon.
Yeah, they had a kitchen in the middle of the moon.
They're right.
Clearly.
They're just underground. You need to
They
live
have a
underground.
grocery store on the moon. Duh.
Yeah,
You
everyone
have to
knows
live
that.
underground because of
Everyone
the
knows that.
radiation
I mean,
anyway.
the video. I don't think the videos we've seen of the moon landing are real. They just don't look real. They just don't look believable.
I don't think there's any video of the moon landing at all.
Yeah, I think
There's
they were filmed.
videos of astronauts on the moon, not of the moon, not of the landing on the moon.
I wouldn't go that far, but I can see your point. I think they filmed something in a studio and they couldn't show us a real thing. You know, like Alex Jones has an interesting point.
But they did film in a studio, and this is what happened. There's CBS reenactment footage.
Yes.
And people are claiming like, how did we see it land on TV? And then it's like it literally says CBS reenactment.
Simulation.
Yeah.
Simulation.
It's
Right.
simulation. Buzz Aldrin gets mad at Conan O'Brien when Conan says, I remember being a kid watching you land on the moon. Buzz gets mad, said, you didn't see me land on the moon.
Yeah, it never
You
happened.
saw a simulation. And then you pull up the thing and it's a studio thing.
But
'cause they
people
couldn't film it.
People were like, what? Simulation. And it's like, yes, they couldn't film it. Nobody was on the moon.
Right.
They didn't like land a guy on the moon and then start filming.
Yeah, the first guy.
Or like, it's like filming a vlog. Casey Neistat famously would walk in the room, put his camera on the back, leave, and then come back in to film a scene for his vlog.
Yeah.
Right.
So we landed on the moon, got out, placed the cameras, got back in the ship, went back in the sky, and then came back down to film it.
Yep.
That's like that would seem totally normal to people nowadays.
Yeah.
All right, we got
That's
it.
what they do with their phone.
We got the video. How good? Do you think it's going to be good?
Nope. What? Oh. Uh-oh.
Look at
That was it. That was pretty poorly made.
There's something inside the moon, though?
Yeah, like, what is
We've been
this?
talking about.
Cyborg moon? Is it listening to us?
That's what you get when you type in the real moon.
Interesting.
For those that are just
I
listening.
wonder why it thinks that's
There's
the
like
moon.
really poorly
engine
and
in
crudely drawn machines. Looks like an engine in the moon.
Engine, yeah.
The real moon.
So that way it can leave.
That was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I'm unimpressed. Unimpressed completely. That's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I still am a normie when it comes to the moon.
You'll get there.
You know,
All right, one more. We can do,
I'm gonna
like
radicalize
2
you,
more
Bill.
video prompts. What do we got?
I don't know. What does the first Mars colony look like?
Ooh.
The first Mars colony.
When Werner von Braun wrote about that book, it was governed by a man named Elon.
Yep.
Oh.
We live in a simulation.
Do you think that Musk is going to eventually get to Mars, or do you think that it's going to happen after?
I don't
he
think there's
passes?
Mars.
You don't. Oh, there is no Mars. All right.
There's no Mars. It's a pipe dream. Just like his grandfather, he was looking for the lost city of Kalahari, you know?
That's
and he
that's the
died.
Emerald
His grandfather
Mile.
was a Canadian technocrat when technocracy was banned in Canada after the Great Depression. He was a famous chiropractor. And then when he was eventually, there's different stories. He was either exiled from Canada or he left because the technocracy didn't work out. He became obsessed with finding the lost city of Kalahari, which is in Africa. And he built his own plane, went looking all over for it. And yeah, I don't think it's real. And and he died. He died in a plane crash when Elon was 3. That's May Musk's dad. That's why they went to South Africa.
Yeah,
they left
or
Canada.
he found the city.
Yeah, he faked his death, found a city.
He found the city and never came back, so they just claimed he died.
That's a fair point.
You said he died in a plane crash?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he landed.
Classic.
Yeah.
And they just said, oh, the plane's gone.
Or it's Elon
Crashed.
this whole time. They're just immortal.
Yeah.
Or it's Elon, just immortal.
There's a conspiracy theory that powerful global elites, once they get to like 70 years old, then they get the immortality serum and de-age to their 20s where they become staffers or they're...
That's
Nick Cage was in the
Illuminati?
Civil War. Have you guys seen that photo? Like, that guy is a vampire. He's something.
Where?
Just look up Nick Cage Civil War photo. I'm sure it'll come up. There's a bunch of celebrities. They look at old Civil War photos and they're like, there's no way.
Nicolas Cage, I'm not a vampire.
That's what
Well,
they all
that-
say. That's what a vampire would say.
That is what a vampire would say.
Look at that.
ooh,
Look at that.
yeah, you know. I wonder if there's a place where all these photos are correlated.
Or it's just that sometimes people look like other people, you know?
Maybe.
That's just it.
Or Nick Cage is forever.
I mean, look, we all know someone that looks like someone else.
Like doppelgangers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
totally normal. And there's like certain shapes to faces and stuff.
People don't know this, but we have another individual who works here. Her name is Bill Falanti, who's a janitor who looks just like Phil, and his name is Bill.
Yep.
You know, people don't know that.
Sometimes he'll fill in for me. it's a secret, but
All right, let's get. What are we doing here? We going political again? Let's do this one. We got the story from Fox News. A lot of news. Maxine Waters' campaign to pay $68,000 for violating campaign finance laws. Citizens for Waters agrees to pay civil fine and send treasurer to training after FEC probe into 2020 campaign violations. There you go. That's the news. Is that it?
well, I mean, look,
Campaign finance violations, you get a slap on the wrist, they pay back?
I think that she should go to jail probably because I don't imagine that she's that she's not one of the more corrupt members of Congress personally. So
Remember when she incited violence?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
that was
remember when she incited violence. She's continued to do it. It's not just a one-off thing. Right. Anything that can get her out of office, any kind of just anything to get her out of office and out of the public eye, I think would be a good thing.
She'll never leave.
No, she'll do just the same thing that Nancy Pelosi did.
Yeah.
I mean, or Dianne
Feinstein.
Feinstein. Yeah. She will stay there, and she is nothing but poison to the institution.
Yep.
She is absolutely poison.
Yep. Well, she's a vessel probably for corruption.
Yeah.
They just use her. She's a placeholder to maintain their power, because I don't think her district is doing very well, from what I hear. Like, it's not doing great.
I want to look up what her district is shaped like.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just a cemetery.
I think the politicians like Waters, they know how to break the law in small ways that, just get a slap on the wrist. Whereas someone else might do the same level of corruption, but if they don't know how to do the corruption properly, then they end up in jail for the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, I mean, or politically motivated people prosecute them, and they definitely will end up in jail for the rest of the. But that's something that the Democrats have been doing for the past 10 years. Whether it be the IRS looking into people or any number of other times that the federal government has focused on people because of their political affiliations, being somewhat to the right, in any way somewhat to the right. And that's it. They will do everything they can to throw you in jail and use the government to intimidate you. And that's not a surprise to Republicans anymore.
Didn't AOC have some crazy campaign finance issues in the beginning? Wasn't there some?
Yeah, she was accused of funneling money to her. Now, is she married? Her husband or boyfriend?
No, she's
No,
married,
it's
but yeah,
boyfriend.
it was something like that.
Yeah, he got like a job with a company. It was like a PAC or something that was like money from her went to them to him.
And no one got in
Shady
trouble
business.
for that. Were there
Yeah, it's
no
DC
fines?
for you. That's
Yep.
DC for you. But I don't know, man. I just kind of shrug at this news because it's like, what else is new?
Yeah, and there's never anything that gets done about it. These
This fine is meaningless
Totally
to a
meaningless.
federal level politician.
it has nothing to. There will be no change in her policy or in the way that she speaks or anything like that. She's going to continue doing exactly what she's doing. There's not even a censure. It's like
And if there was, she would just start singing in the well of the house.
yeah, right.
And then they wouldn't do anything about it. And Mike Johnson would be like, Adjourned.
And the Republicans, the Democrats will use the full force of the government against the Republicans, and the Republicans can't even seem to prosecute Democrats that actually break the law.
Yep.
It is frustrating.
They're safe. They know they're safe. They get no consequences.
Yeah.
But if you, sir, are accused of rioting and you have proof that you didn't, they'll deny you the ability to show the jury that.
Yeah, and even the basis of the whole January 6th prosecution was trying all of the cases under literally a different set of laws, a different set of rules than AOC when she pretended to be in handcuffs or whatever, or even Hakeem Jeffries when he pulled the fire alarm. It's literally a different set of codes. So you have DC code and then federal court. It's a federal code. It's a different set of courts, where in the DC courts, you get a slap on the wrist, you pay a fine, you do some, community service, and then the charge goes away. Whereas the federal courts that they chose to prosecute all of the January 6th cases in, the minimum is going to be pleading guilty, not this pretrial diversion. It's pleading guilty. You have a criminal record, and the minimum is some term of federal probation, and that is the minimum. So they literally threw an entirely different book at the January 6th protesters than they do for the left wingers who regularly, go and violate some form of DC code when they're protesting.
That's probably, now it seems obvious, but even before, conservatives knew. That's why there's a lot of people that didn't go. They didn't go because they were like, no, I don't trust the government. And if they decide to start wrapping people up for protesting or whatever, they're going to throw the book at them. That seemed obvious even back then.
AI just can't really get it, can it?
Congresswoman, do you deny the charges?
That's not right.
Charges: fraud, misappropriation, campaign violations.
Why is she saying the question?
Congresswoman, do you deny the charges?
Charges: fraud, misappropriation, campaign violations.
Invergation.
Nice.
Under invergation.
That's great.
Congratulations. Wow, these are terrible.
At least it's using actual letters nowadays. Remember.
I mean, ChatGPT can get full English done right, but Gemini just can't do it. It's just
I probably made worse typos in editing videos.
Yeah, I rely on spell check a lot.
Yeah.
Because I can't spell it all. English is impossible to spell anything. If you have 3 different ways to spell the same word. It's in Chinese, really? I didn't know that, but it's awful.
Does Serge know Chinese? No, I feel like he would. It just seems like.
Well, Singapore, right? How long were you in Singapore?
We can't hear you, so it doesn't really work for a podcast.
Oh yeah, well,
For those who can't hear Serge, he's speaking Chinese.
yeah, he's just like, oh no, I'm
knows
not gonna.
Mandarin.
I won't join in at all. I mean, everyone knows that the AI revolution is going to be absolutely horrifying at the end of the day. Whether it be people like you that think that it's going to take over. Do you really think it's going to take over?
I think it already did. Yeah.
Go on.
I'm watching governments fully implement their AI. And we've seen things like Palantir. That's why the story with the Palantir thing you guys were talking about.
Do you think that
Fake
do you think that
news.
it's
I
still
don't think
run?
fake news yet.
They made up the
because
story and they admitted they did.
I understand New York Times is a liar for sure, but the history of Palantir with the government, Palantir was CIA. InQtel is a CIA venture capitalist firm.
So you can
They
invest
funded-
in CIA right now?
You own
developed by
shares
CIA.
in the military-industrial complex if you have Palantir, because that Peter Thiel's the face of it.
Yeah.
We know that. Karp, these people, I don't like them, but Palantir's been hand in hand with the Patriot Act since 2003, using data analysis to scrape everyone's data, which will eventually turn into predictive policing, which I really don't think is a good idea. But they're already implementing that in other places.
Where?
Like UK has the predictive homicide unit they just opened,
What does that do?
scraping data off the internet to see who is most likely to commit a homicide.
Are they arresting you before you do it?
I believe they probably will. And DARPA just started their own thing over here to predict when people will be money laundering. So it's like it starts off with good ideas. Like I don't think it's good to predict these things, but they're going to sell it to you like, hey, it's good. We're going to fix immigration.
Sure.
Great.
Yeah.
It will turn into social credit score. And Palantir has had a long history with the government. They just did Project Maven, I don't know, 10 years ago, not even, when Google was going to have that Pentagon contract, and Google, they like protested. It was 2017 because they protested. I think it was more about Trump as opposed to them having actual morals with working with the defense, with Pentagon. And then Palantir stepped in, took over. And they've been Biden gave them like $400 million before he left. So like they have a long history with the Pentagon, with the government. So when I see that story, I'm like, well, that's a logical next step, because they've been ingratiated into the government forever. And their relationship with Trump goes back a long ways, even though Alex Karp doesn't like Trump, or he does now because he's rebranded. Thiel's been funding him since 2016.
Yeah.
So I do think governments are doing that. And Palantir is like just one of many. And many people across the world
Palantir is kind of the premier one, isn't it? Like
it is.
Data collection.
It is. And they have Foundry.
Software.
You know, and they're doing Anduril. And, you know,
They're
all
like Palantir's working with Anduril?
Thiel is. Yeah.
Okay.
They're all connected. Like Palmer Luckey came out of Facebook. Thiel funded Facebook, you know, they're all, it's all like PayPal Mafia was the beginning. Alex Karp will say that the first Silicon Valley was actually the Manhattan Project, which is a fair point.
Yeah, probably.
And you know, it evolved into this. And then you have things that I think are horrifying, like Lavender AI, which is AI just running who dies. They're just using their rockets in Gaza, which is like, however you feel about it, fine. But like AI is doing the killing.
Let's
And
try.
it has a 10% error rate.
Let's see how this one did.
What is going on?
Okay, that was really good.
Look at the two women behind
is
just
going
standing there
on?
smiling. Just
That's a good video.
Yeah.
Everything
that
is
was
like
scary.
everything's a movie though for
The clothes look good.
for VO.
Yeah, it looks a little too produced, but I can imagine that exact scene happening in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
And I just want to say,
Fake crying.
Phil, one more thing. The thing that really worries me with the AI stuff is that a lot of the people who talk about the AI, who are in that world, they want to be a monopoly in their field, right? And they want to install something that's pretty anti-democratic. And installing something like an AI government, it'll be an AI like algorithm in charge. And that to them, they'll think that this is an objective piece of a tool. I don't think it's being built by objective people though. So it's going to be flawed, and it should just be a tool, but it will become something that appears to think at some point. Some people argue that it already is. I don't know if that's true or not, but there are people for years now who are from those companies, like the OpenAI people. They think it might already be conscious and is hiding that fact.
I'm pretty sure behind the scenes, the big companies already have artificial general intelligence.
I think so too.
I thought that was already disclosed.
Artificial general intelligence?
Yeah, so I thought that it was like there was a leak somewhere where someone worked in the industry said behind the scenes the companies already have access to this.
2 years ago.
Yeah, they've already developed it. They've just not released it to the public yet, because the concern is we're dealing with the industrial revolution times 1,000.
Yes.
When you get access to these machines and the technology to build all these machines and industrialize, you still have to build all those machines. But when it's digital, white-collar, mental jobs, we're talking about just what someone can do with their own mind and a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You roll that out overnight. It's going to wipe out half of all of the white-collar jobs we have instantly, which will destroy the economy. So what I've read from what is alleged, I don't know, maybe it's not true, these companies already have AGI.
Mm-hmm.
That is artificial intelligence that acts and behaves as if it is a person, and it's indistinguishable, but smarter than the average expert in any or master of any, white collar job, management, finance, art, create, movies. If they release it to the public, economy implodes. So they're trickling it out.
I think that's what's happening. And you can read up on how the quantum computing is going to work into all this.
The reason I think it's true is because AI growth is an exponential curve.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be looking at linear development in AI. It should be exponentially increasing to the point where you get the singularity.
Right.
The event horizon of AI is the AI can develop itself faster than we can, which results in what takes us a year, takes a week, then a day, then an hour, then a minute, and then it cannot be better.
Yeah.
Like, we can't even perceive of how fast it's improved. Yep.
And that's even if it's just about speed, right? Like it doesn't have to have any kind of like new ways of thinking. It's just the ability to crunch information fast. That will look like intelligence to your average person.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
For sure.
All right, my friends, we are going to go to your chats. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Make sure you join us. We're going to have that uncensored call-in show coming up at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Use promo code TIM10 to sign up. You get $10 off. And also, we have our Discord server. If you want to hang out with like-minded individuals, if you're trying to figure out where to begin, how do I get started, how do I get involved? We got tens of thousands of people hanging out at timcast.com on our Discord server. Sign up right now. There's fitness chat rooms, there's video games, there's video game development. You got all of it. You got pre-shows, after shows, hang out, and as a member, you can call in to our after show and talk to us and our guest. Before we go to your chats, though, we got a great sponsor, my friends. It's AMAC. Hey, guys, let's be honest. This is getting weird. The media gaslights you. The government's overspending like crazy, and if you question it, you're labeled a threat. But if you're over 50 and still believe in common sense, you are not alone. Right now, Trump is back in office and actually doing something, fixing bad trade deals, exposing government waste, and pushing back on the cultural decay. But he can't fix everything without people like you stepping up. That's why AMAC matters. AMAC is the non-woke alternative for Americans over 50. They stand for individual liberty, fiscal responsibility, and actual freedom, not the illusion of it. It's just $16 a year. You get a subscription to the AMAC magazine, access to real money-saving discounts, and you support a network that's pushing back against the insanity. Join now at amac.us/Timcast. Again, that's amac.us/Timcast. You don't have to sit on the sidelines. You can be part of the solution. Shout out to AMAC for sponsoring the show. We do appreciate it. Let's grab your super chats. Let's go. Shane H. Wilder says, remember, June is not Pride Month. Do not call it that. Pride is a sin. It is the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and has been since it was designated in 1856. Let's take the month back. I was thinking about this with the crew, and I was like, it is Pride Month, but what about Envy Month, Wrath Month,
Seriously.
Sloth Month?
Why don't all the sins get a parade?
I used Midjourney. It's an old AI image generation. We don't use it anymore because ChatGPT has gotten so good. But I was like, if they've got a pride flag, what about a wrath flag or a gluttony flag? It was amazing. I made a gluttony flag. You know what it looked like? AI generated an image of a flag made of human skin that looked like fat rolls flapping in the wind. And I was like, that's a good gluttony flag.
That just makes me think of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
You know?
I asked the early image generation from like Midjourney, make an image of pride, and it made rainbow lions. Because the training models, when they associate images with pride, they get two things, lions and rainbows. So when I asked it, I said, make an image of pride, it made a rainbow lion. No joke.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's amazing.
Crazy, right? Let's go. What do we got here? David Flores says, in 01, when I worked for the KYDOC, it cost more to house a maximum security inmate than the entrance salary of an officer. Crimes against Americans by illegals should be punishable by death. That's actually, I think Texas is pushing that. Any illegal immigrant who kills an American, they're saying we'll get the death penalty. I think y'all need to understand how expensive that is. Death row is not like a person's convicted, they walk outside and they get hanged. It's like 20 years where we're paying for all that. Yeah. Arsonist YouTube says, Tim, you went too hard on the girl from the Culture War episode. I felt bad for the beautiful lady. She's a liberal, not a monster. I can fix her. With all due respect, it's sophistry. We were discussing why men are leaving the left. And let me I'll give you my overview, I suppose. The best example was she explained Trump was bad for changing passports that used to say a trans person's identity to their biological sex, because now it's going to get them killed. To which I argued, we have no right to trick a foreign nation into entering their country. After like an hour of this conversation, she flipped her position from passports should say whatever the person wants to. Of course, the passport should list the person's biological sex. It's tied to the social security number. And I'm like, then what are you arguing? This is what liberals do. They just argue for the sake of being liberal. And when I called her a conservative, I'm like, okay, you're a conservative. Like, because we don't disagree with you. If that's what conservative supposedly is, we've got friends of the show who are trans, and we would agree you can't trick Saudi Arabia into letting you in. And if you do, as a trans person, want to go to Saudi Arabia, you acknowledge the risk of death you would have by going to that country. If we don't disagree on that, and we didn't, you're a conservative. And she was just like, no, I'm a liberal. I'll say whatever I have to say to make it sound like I'm a liberal, even when it made literally no sense. but she literally argued that the U.S. government should forge false documents so that U.S. citizens can enter foreign countries in violation of their laws. Like the point I brought up is, can a woman walk around wherever she wants in, say, like the Emirates? No, not without a man. Okay, so if a biological woman, female, got a fake passport saying she's a man and went in disguise and then was walking around, she would be violating the law, and the U.S. government would be providing a false document to abet her in doing that. I was like, yeah, no, we have no right to someone else's country, to some other nation, and to break their laws.
Yeah, only the CIA gets fake passports to see other countries.
Did she assume that, or did they assume that, like, should a person get in trouble for actually violating the law by lying in the passport, is the United States obligated to come and get them? It's going to have an effect on...
She made an argument that, yes.
That's insane.
That the Americans would have to go and rescue them then. And I'm like, she was saying that she has a friend who's trans, as a war correspondent, who now is risking death because the passport has the opposite gender sex marker on it. And I'm just like, what? You are going to a war zone. You are risking death if you are a man, woman, or otherwise. Don't give me this BS of, but the government should lie my documents for me so I can go there and be less at risk. Like, you're going to a war zone.
That's crazy.
You can catch a stray bullet.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Some homeless guy can steal your phone and leave you in a ditch. Ridiculous. That's just, that one's the most offensive to me because I've done conflict reporting. I've been threatened. I've been in shootouts. And it's just like, dude, you cannot come to me. I can't stand this one. It's a woman thing. I'm not kidding. When it comes to, maybe this is a credit to the trans woman acting acting womanly in this regard. When it comes to the conflict stuff I've done, I've never met a man in conflict who says I should be able to do X in foreign country. But women, I have. And it's the craziest thing. Not all women. I don't want to disparage all women. I have met women who are like, there was a woman in Egypt, and she was 26, Dutch woman, and she went into Tahrir Square by herself. Guess what happened? Gang raped. But she should be allowed to, no, shut up. There's a lot of things we should be able to do and we can't in this world. So it's laughably absurd to me when someone's like, but they're trans and they should be able to go to Egypt and do war correspondence. It's like, what?
Your victimhood doesn't transfer.
There were stories that men can't cover, and there are stories that women can't cover. When I worked at Vice, they had a board of all these stories, and they were trying to find hosts for them. And they explicitly were like explaining to me, this one is about rape survivors in South America. Men aren't allowed to do that story. A man cannot go to that village. You will be attacked. And it's like, of course. That's not fair. I should be allowed to go and do whatever I want. I have a right. What? I have no illusions of that. It's so offensive to me. These people were like, I should be able to go to Iraq and do whatever I want. Bro, some kid can throw a rock at your head. What are you talking about? Man, people are so entitled.
Tim, I'm going to head out.
All right. Shane's getting ready for Inverted World at 10.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I had to go run to the studio now.
Go get it right.
I hope you guys all join us. This is our first Monday night broadcast. We'll drop a link in the chat. Anyone can call in. It'll be audio only. If you've seen a ghost,
anyone can call in.
Anyone can call in. Ghost stories, demon stories, Sasquatch, you name it. We'll take your phone call. We'll hear anything, and it'll be fun.
What's the link? The URL.
So on YouTube it is Inverted World Live. No, I'm sorry. On YouTube it's Tales from the Inverted World. On Rumble, Inverted World Live, and we will throw that link. It'll be ready in the chat once we go live.
Sweet.
So
right on, man.
See y'all.
See you, homie.
Have fun one.
Let's grab some more chats. All right. Coletown says, I normally agree with Tim on the death penalty, but for very public acts of terrorism like this, I have no issue with it. I don't care about Israel, but I see this as an attack on Americans by a foreign extremist. Why should we send him back to his home country where he'll be treated like a hero? I don't disagree on that. I'm looking at it more practically, not emotionally. Like, what is the greatest outcome for Americans? It's to stop spending money on these people. So maybe this is where we have CCOT. I don't know. It's tough. There's no easy answers. There's none.
I'd look. Just get him out. I don't care. Get him out. Just get him out. Send him to ECCOT. Send him to Gitmo. I don't care. Just get him out.
I mean, the expense of an execution or the expense of keeping someone on death row, that is entirely imposed by the courts. It's not like something inherent to executions that we have to spend, decades where they're just sitting in jail waiting for whatever appeals process the Supreme Court arbitrarily came up with to run out.
I don't know. I don't want to keep these people in the United States. And I think that the American people, if the American people get what they want from the government, which is not a guarantee, there will continue to be significant restrictions on who can and cannot get into the United States, because that is an overwhelmingly positive position to take with the United States, is we want to limit immigration. If that's the case, then get them out. And I imagine that that's something that the American people are going to actually make us think about in the future, especially after all of the violence that have come from immigrants in just the past couple months, So
Let's grab some more chats. We've got SN Spartan. He says, on the topic of Friday of AI movie apps, you are missing the obvious. They would be able to make any book you ever want to be a movie or TV series, with it being as close to the book as you want. Indeed. And any character. Imagine if you were like, I want Moby Dick, but Ahab is Mickey Mouse.
he could do it for you.
Oh, I'm going to get that great white whale. Oh.
Call me Ishmael.
Oh, gee golly, Mickey. Yo. That'd be awesome. Wouldn't it be like Goofy trying to, throw a harpoon?
I mean, it would definitely. I mean, it would be weird.
Yeah, but my kid's not watching that. Not till she's old enough.
Even the stuff that you make.
What?
You're not going to let your kid watch stuff that you make?
Like the news?
No. I'm talking about stuff that you make and AI.
Yeah, probably. Like maybe around like 8 or 9, she can start watching stuff. Okay. when she's like already. I think the problem is when they put 3 and 4-year-olds in front of dancing animals talking, it creates identity crises. And not just that, it's like weird inanimate objects. It like screws with a kid's brain. That stuff never existed throughout history.
No.
Kids only ever saw people talking. They never saw like a dog man walk up and be like, I'm a dog man. Look at me. You're a dog too. Now people are dressing up like cartoon animals and doing weird,
Well, I mean, look, that alone is reason enough to keep them off the internet.
Indeed. All right, what do we have? Not that John Stewart says, let's go.
Really?
All right. Let's go. Trevin Lane says, welcome to the start of Men's Mental Health Month. If you need help, please get it. You matter. And there are people that care.
Is it officially Men's Mental Health Month? It's something that you can arguably say men definitely need to have the ability to access mental health resources, but I don't think that men need the same kind of mental health help that women do, and it's likely in a far smaller capacity. So
Jason Dixon says there needs to be a response in kind. Stop pucky-footing around. That's what he wrote. And call a spade a spade. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but I will say this. So y'all know how independent skateboards got rid of their logo because they were called racist? Mm-hmm. And I own it now.
Yeah.
And I've owned it for several years, and they've never once.
Has it been years?
It's been like 3 or 4 years, I think.
Wow.
Since we've created these skateboards, I've got one that's slightly off camera, and it's got that logo on it. They abandoned it. That's independent skateboards. They had one of the most iconic logos, and they got called racist, so they dropped it. This is funny. So I went to, I was at a Zoomies at the mall with the homies, and they were looking at skate trucks. Independent skateboards had a logo that looked too much like the Iron Cross. It looks more like a Maltese cross, which is fine, but they got called racist because it looked like the Iron Cross. They now have, and they may have had for a while, a set of trucks that are coated in black paint with a spade on them. Do y'all know what that means? You know what a spade is?
Nothing good.
No.
So a spade is a racial slur for a black person, particularly prominent in the early 1900s and became more pronounced in the civil rights era. People who opposed civil rights would call black people spades. Yep. So the fact that this skateboard company was like, we don't want to be racist, get rid of this symbol that people are yelling about, and then put a spade on their trucks instead.
Yeah, that's.
It's like, bro.
I mean, that's the kind of dumb move that you hear happening a lot from the left. It's like, oh, we got rid of our Tesla, so we got a VW. Or they're walking around wearing Hugo Boss.
Yep.
No
drinking Fanta.
Yeah, yeah. No reference to the past at all.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think anything can be a racial slur if you try hard enough.
Yeah. But it was funny because the guy who worked there was like, oh, when we were laughing, pointing at it, being like, look, they put a spade on it. And he went, oh, like you're starting to click, huh? If you're depending on a lot of people aren't familiar with the term because it's a civil rights era slur that fell out of use for the most part. But it's just like I don't care if someone's putting a spade on something because like it's a playing card symbol. You know what I mean? But it's just funny that they were like, we're not racist. Look, we'll do this instead. And literally, there is more racial connotations to the spade than the original logo.
It has as much truth to it as the first initial.
It's more. The first accusations was wrong. It wasn't even an iron cross.
It wasn't the same cross. Yeah.
Apparently, like Independent took it from some like rivet company in the 1900s, and they wrote Independent inside of it. And it looks like a Maltese cross, which is used by veterans all over the world. And besides, the Iron Cross isn't Nazi. Like, Germans still have the Iron Cross. They're not Nazis anymore, right? Maybe
They would be offended if you called them
right.
that.
Anyway.
They still have the Iron Cross though. I didn't know that.
I think the Germans still use Iron Cross. It's not an official award. It's still an emblem of the modern German army. The Bundeswehr. It's found in military vehicles and various military-related organizations. It's not an official award, but they still use the Iron Cross. Yeah.
Well, that makes even less sense.
Yep. All right. Well, let's see what else we have.
I mean, it's the same kind of thing as the Elon Musk zigged when he shouldn't have, and the argument they're making about Cory Booker didn't. It's whenever it's convenient for them. So
Jacob Pauley says Supreme Court has accepted a case from Illinois over whether ballots can be counted after Election Day. The court has agreed to hear it. It was brought by an incumbent Republican congresswoman.
I would like to see them
Interesting.
actually make the sensible call with that one.
But the Supreme Court refused to hear the assault weapons case.
Yeah, they didn't. It's
Scumbags.
that one, and there's one
About
other.
Thomas and Alito were like, yes, we should hear it.
Yeah, the reason is because, if I understand correctly, the reason is because they think that the answer is actually obvious, and they want the lower courts to relook at their methodology to how they came to the finding they did, because it's clear that the lower courts should have going by Bruin and Heller, they should have come down and said, well, obviously you can't ban an entire class. But
so one of the Krasensteins was like, sane gun laws have prevailed. And I'm like, bro,
he's a moron.
The example I use all the time, Maryland has a list of assault weapons. You have to specifically check anytime you want to get a weapon to make sure your weapon isn't an assault weapon, because there's no criteria for what an assault weapon is other than they put on a list.
Yep.
So the FN SCAR 20S, which is a modern 380 AR style rifle, it's beautiful, it's amazing, by the way, is not an assault weapon. But the M1A is. So my wooden stock M1A with a 10-round magazine is an assault weapon with iron sights, and my scoped out FN SCAR 20S with a 30-round magazine is totally fine.
Yep.
Same round.
Yeah, gun laws are stupid.
My favorite is that the KSG 25 is not an assault weapon either.
What's KSG? Is it a
25-round shotgun?
Okay.
Double mag tube, one in the chamber, and that
semi-auto?
No.
Oh,
pump
yeah,
action.
Pump action.
Yeah,
that's
but
why.
let's be real, dude.
That's why. Well, that's why it's not an
We
assault
were out in the
weapon.
back with 25 buckshot in it.
Yeah.
And you're just going boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
And it vaporized. We had this wooden frame set up for targets. It just vaporized it, blasting 25 buckshot at it.
Yep.
That was amazing.
It'll smoke stuff. It'll.
and they're
remove-
like, that's fine. And I think Benelli semi-auto shotguns is fine. And that's boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stupid.
Gun laws never make any sense. They
Nope.
never make any sense, because what they're trying to actually do is make the results of owning guns illegal. Or
Right. The idea is you don't know which gun you have is illegal, so you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was crazy because I had what did I have? I had a 9mm AR of some sort that in different states qualified in different ways. Yep. It's just ridiculous.
Massachusetts does the same thing. That was a big part of why I moved out of Massachusetts and moved to New Hampshire.
I got a gun in New Jersey and New Jersey's strict and crazy,
Super bad.
which was fine, but in Maryland it was not okay.
Yeah. It
I was like, what?
makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
None of
Maryland's
them make any sense.
Yeah, but then we moved to West Virginia. So actually, we had property in West Virginia the whole time. As soon as we went to Maryland, I bought 2 properties, a small one. And that's where we kept everything in West Virginia. And that's where I actually live. And then we worked in the Maryland side. And what the state said is if you live in West Virginia, you are allowed to transport your weapons that are legal in West Virginia to your property in Maryland. So as long as the weapon was legal itself.
Yeah.
That meant like my M1A couldn't come, but they actually, the head of the state police licensing said, if you live in West Virginia, but you also own property in Maryland, and West Virginia is your principal residence, they emailed me saying I was allowed to carry my permitless handgun.
Really?
From West Virginia to my property in Maryland, but just for that purpose, because the law was you're allowed to transport it to your home.
Yeah. So you had to lock it up and stuff like that.
So in your car, ammo is in a separate compartment.
Yeah.
Weapon needs to be locked up in its case, but you can bring it to your property at your home and have it. Whereas in Maryland, if you want to buy a handgun, you got to get a permit, handgun class, and get a handgun license. But if you're a dual property owner in both states, in West Virginia, you show your ID, say, here's your gun, sir.
Yeah.
In Maryland, nope.
Yeah, same thing with New Hampshire. Like New Hampshire, there's, you can do whatever you want. There's literally no federal gun laws. I'm sorry, state gun laws, not federal gun laws. And Massachusetts, you can go through all the rigmarole, spend the $300 for all the class and stuff that you need to get, and they can still say, yeah, well, we're not going to give you, or they could still say, we're not going to give you a license to carry. Now it's changed since Heller and Bruin.
All right. Kieran the Meat Man says the answer is to have a trial, sentenced to forever sleep, deport, and if he comes back, the sentence is enacted. I see. So the penalty for terrorism would be death, but it's stayed for deportation.
Yeah.
However, they are told if you return, then you will face your conviction.
I don't know if I want to go through all the rigmarole
I should
of
just deport.
Yeah, I wanted to just deport, but if you were to go through all of the rigmarole to find him, give him the trial and stuff like that, and you find him guilty, and it's like, oh, if you come back, we'll enact the sentence. Why not just enact the sentence? He's already been found guilty.
I'm pretty sure that this crime does qualify for capital punishment.
Yeah, if he killed people, yeah.
Yeah, I think someone's dead because they charged him with first-degree murder, and it was terroristic immolation of a group of people, including children.
I imagine the DOJ would be able to say, hey, yeah, we're going to charge him for...
Yeah, capital offenses.
I mean, in terms of resources needed, like the vast majority of defendants don't go to trial, so, he'll almost certainly end up with a plea deal.
God.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I have to imagine that the DOJ is going to be like, no, we want a trial on this one. You're not going to get a plea.
Yeah, I can't. Especially this DOJ.
I think it's like over 90% in general of cases that, end up with a conviction are through a plea deal.
Yep. In this instance, though, I think they'd say, like, if you plead guilty, we'll go for maximum penalty regardless.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've got the guy. There's video of the guy doing it. It's not like there's in question as to who he is or if he actually did commit the crime in question. They've got him. So it's really just a matter of, how is his lawyer going to be able to, or if his lawyer is able to talk the government out of doing what the government is empowered to do,
All right. Andre says, auroras will be visible very far into the U.S. Look north. Yeah. Use your phone cam if too faint. Yeah, not by us, but I think New York's getting it. Wisconsin, Minnesota.
I saw some stuff that said we would get it this far.
Really?
Yeah.
We did have it before.
Green glow.
We did. I remember. It was crazy.
That was in the past couple of years too.
This was like a year ago or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The photos are crazy. So I got to tell you, photos of auroras are vivid as they don't look like that. So I went to Fairbanks, Alaska, was it like 2 years ago now with Allison? And we went to Anchorage, we went to Utqiagvik, and then we didn't see anything. We landed in Fairbanks, and as we were pulling the bags out from the airport, in the airport parking lot, while we were trying to get in the car, we looked up and saw this massive aurora.
Yep.
And it's visible, but it's faint. It doesn't. In the photographs, it's super bright because they're doing like lower exposure. And it was funny because the car remote was frozen. It was minus 30 degrees.
Yep.
So we had to warm it up to get in the car. And Allison was like, quick, get a picture. And I'm like, let's just get in the car first. It's minus 30. I'm like, I got icicles forming. Let's just warm this thing up, get in the car, and then we'll take a picture. After like about a minute, we warmed the remote up, opened the thing, threw the bags in, looked up, and it disappeared.
That's a drag. I've seen some really cool auroras when we were touring in Canada in the wintertime, which is terrifying in and of itself. Driving through the Rockies when it's actually the winter, it's awful. But you see some really, really vivid auroras if you're getting up towards like Saskatoon, Saskatchewan and stuff, you know.
Yeah, we got XOD says the 4 lights scene from The Next Generation is actually from 1984, where the agent from the Thought Police asks how many fingers he's holding up and shocks Winston until he believes there's 5 fingers when there's only 4.
Yeah.
And isn't it amazing how the actor who played the dude in 1984 went on to play the Chancellor in V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it on purpose. They were like, we got to have him be the...
Well, yeah, that was the point of hiring for V. I think that...
What was that guy's name? I forgot his name.
The actor's... I don't remember the actor's name.
Yep. It is funny how Guy Fawkes was a theocrat, and then a bunch of leftists started wearing his mask, his face.
It's insane.
Yeah. Yep.
Every time I see like leftists wearing the anarchist mask, it's like it's entirely opposite to everything you hold dear.
This is funny. Zero News says, my sister met her husband on Tinder. He was looking for a ride to the gun range. They have been married for 5 years.
John Hurt was the guy's name that played Winston.
I knew it was something Hurt. Yeah, John Hurt. SV moment. Look up Palantir and what they are doing. It will blow your minds. Also, had a great poop just now. Thanks for letting us know that.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. Raymond G. Staley Jr. says, Tim, talking about money ain't easy is why I said not everyone can homeschool. It takes money to homeschool. You know, it's funny. I'm always thrown to this idea where like humans for millennia literally just lived off dirt. Now we have people who live in these luxurious environments and they're like, I can't. And I'm like, it sucks, but you can. And people are, you know, it's kind of crazy that, I mean, it's a challenge. Send your child to an institutionalized learning facility where they'll show them gay porn.
Yep.
Or live in the wilderness and starve to death, you know, and struggle to survive as a caveman.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it does cost money to homeschool, but I don't think that it's like particularly expensive. I mean, there are curriculums out there that you can get off of the internet now, like everything's laid out for you. So
yeah,
I don't know that it's all that much money.
Yeah, certainly a lot cheaper than like the 20,000+ that they spend per student per year in the public schools.
Or sending your kid to daycare and stuff like that. Those kind of things are usually significantly more expensive than doing curriculum or travels.
All right, everybody, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. We're going to have that uncensored call-in show over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL in about a minute. So once again, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Steven, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, you can find my news publication, The Triangle Trumpet, at triangletrumpet.news, and you can find me on Twitter, Stephen E. Horn.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record is entitled Anti-Fragile. It came out in January. You can check it out on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and Deezer. And don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.